At first, we see a young couple who think they got married even though they're 18 years old. The story begins with a boy named Jia Cheng helping a little girl whose balloon flies away. But when Cheng returns the balloon, the girl is scared because Cheng reveals he's actually a demon who enjoys scaring people. However, Cheng is also an avid otaku. In the past, when he was younger, he saw a magazine from the human world that he liked so much that he decided to go to the human world to buy more. So he decided to study human culture to be able to go there. He spent all his money on entertainment and could only afford to eat once a day. But he was still happy. Suddenly, he notices a head stuck on a tree. Then a hand appears, shocking Cheng. And the next second, the whole body falls from the tree. Instinctively, Cheng tries to catch the falling body, but it falls on him. He opens his eyes and notices a girl with pink hair on top of him. He tries to wake the girl up because he wants compensation for ruining his clothes. The girl briefly opens her eyes. Her stomach growls, leaving them no choice. Cheng takes her to a restaurant. After eating, the girl feels rejuvenated. Cheng thinks she's pretty, but for some reason, his demon instinct tells him not to get involved with this girl. He knows there's nothing normal about a girl falling from a tree. Meanwhile, the girl thinks it's this guy's fault and that she'll kill him for it. The girl then introduces herself as Yu Shan Shan and thanks Cheng for buying her food. She says goodbye to Cheng and quickly leaves. Unable to react to what just happened, he has to pay the restaurant bill. After a while, Cheng tells the whole story to his supervisor, but she doesn't believe him. Cheerfully, he tells the truth because he had to sell his figurine to pay the bill. But his supervisor says that no matter what he says, he's still late on the first day of school, so she'll mark him absent. Cheng cries and begs her, as it may affect his evaluation in the human world, and if he fails, he'll be forced to leave. The supervisor smiles and asks him to bribe her if he wants her to mark him present. After Cheng leaves, she receives a call from someone. And after talking to that person, her smile deepens as things will get interesting with the student from the other worlds. The next day, Cheng thinks about buying anime figurines, but he has no money. Suddenly, he notices the same red-haired girl as before. He approaches her and takes her hand, but she slams his head onto the ground. Cheng tries to tell her that he helped her yesterday, but she doesn't remember him. At the same time, two men appear and ask the girl not to run away, but they quickly escape. Cheng is confused and angry that the girl doesn't remember him and decides to make her pay. One of the men then stops Cheng and asks if he's a demon, but Cheng quickly runs away, wondering who these men are and how they know his identity. As he runs, he notices his supervisor also trying to catch him, but Cheng avoids her and asks her what she's trying to do. His pursuers increase, so he thinks he failed the test and it's now forcing him to leave. After running for a while, he reaches a dead end. But he still manages to escape his pursuers and jumps onto the roof. He calls them idiots and mocks them. Suddenly, Yu appears in front of him, and their heads bump, causing them both to fall. In the next scene, a man is on the phone saying they've found them. After a while, Yu opens her eyes and is shocked to see a woman with glasses in front of her. Yu confusedly asks what's happening and where she is, but the woman tells her to calm down and explains that the boy is about to wake up too. Cheng opens his eyes and sees Yu coming towards him with a punch. He dodges the attack and angrily asks if she's trying to kill him. Yu tells him to shut up and die. Cheng then tells his supervisor that Yu is the girl who tricked him into buying her a meal. The supervisor then approaches Yu and tries to explain the situation. Even so, Yu refuses, saying she'll never marry a stupid demon like Cheng. While Yu and Cheng fight, he asks the supervisor why she didn't ask for his permission beforehand. The supervisor then shows him a message saying it's to improve relations between angels and demons. And if you don't reply with a no to this message, you'll be automatically selected. Cheng checks his phone and realizes that because he didn't pay the phone bill, this message was blocked. He throws his phone on the ground and asks Yu why she agreed. Yu says it's not her fault because her phone mistook the message as spam and deleted it. Cheng calls it stupid and says he'll never accept it because surrounded girls are all he needs. The supervisor then informs them that if they agree to get married, their daily expenses will be reimbursed, and there will also be a cash bonus. The supervisor then told them to change because it's time for their wedding and that it's also the place of their wedding. The only thing Cheng and Yu can do is scream. After a while, we see two men forcibly taking Cheng to marry Yu. In the evening, the supervisor tells Yu that her belongings will be sent tomorrow. Meanwhile, Yu thinks her life is over, not to mention that she gave her first kiss to a demon. The supervisor then tells them that if they try to remove their ring, they will explode. But Cheng tells her to stop confusing them because they don't remember when they signed a contract. But the supervisor responds that the contract was formed the moment they kissed. She also tells them that the rings will create mutual attraction between them to strengthen their feelings. She adds that the rings will also send them affectionate orders, and if they don't follow the ring's orders, they could be punished. With no other choice, Yu looks at Cheng and says that the only solution is to die. Yu says she'd rather die than do this with a demon, But suddenly, Yu feels something in her body and collapses. Cheng is confused because he doesn't understand. The supervisor then tells him that if the ring detects strong animosity, it will turn into excitement. Yu then starts making noises because she feels it in her body. With no other choice, Cheng takes her and leads her to the bathroom. Inside the bathroom, he throws Yu to the ground and pours cold water on her to calm her down. Yu then thinks that Cheng is not as mean as she imagined. Yu murmurs that Cheng wasn't affected by her attempts and assumes that she might not be attractive. But Cheng tells her that it's not like that at all and tells her that she just spoke her thoughts out loud. Cheng calmly says that he was very close to not being able to resist. But the worst part was that he didn't have contraception with him. He says that in such a situation, if the weapon is accidentally fired and she becomes pregnant, he won't be able to pay child support. And with all his nonsense, Yu angrily tells him to die. The next day, Yu is ready to go to school. But Cheng grabs Yu from behind and tells her to hide her wings. Last night, Cheng proposed a deal to her. Both of them clearly stated that they don't want to marry each other. But still, Cheng suggested that Yu accept this marriage. He tells her that the marriage contract would last for a year and would then be automatically cancelled. So, if they work together and exploit this marriage, they will get a huge cash bonus. They just need to prove that demons and angels cannot coexist peacefully within the year. Then the contract will automatically expire. Yu is confused about whether she should accept this offer or not. But after hearing Cheng's arguments, she accepted angrily. Then Yu approached Cheng and told him that if he dares to deceive her or try to do something she doesn't like, then she will kill him. She says goodbye and leaves for school. After she's gone, an evil smile appears on Cheng's face as he thinks about tormenting Yu in her body. At school, everyone except Yu was present. Then the supervisor informed Cheng that she forgot to tell him that Yu has a bad sense of direction. Meanwhile, Yu looks at the sky, not knowing exactly where she is. Later in the night, Cheng and Yu wait for the rings to give them their first orders. Then the ring told them that they had to perform certain intimate scenes. Cheng and Yu quickly called the supervisor and angrily told her that they would never do it. The supervisor then explained to them that they could adjust the difficulty of the ring because it was too early for them to go further. They adjusted the level, and now the task is to hold hands for 5 minutes. The supervisor then told them that if they don't start the task quickly, the self-destruction program will activate. Yu then told Cheng to start the task and insulted him, saying that it's just holding hands, so there's no need to be sensitive. Cheng reluctantly gives his hand. The task started, and they tease each other. While Cheng thought there was no reason to be afraid because, as he couldn't lose, and Cheng knew that Yu was disgusted because she had to hold his hand due to the contract, Cheng then thought it was normal, and he didn't know that a girl's hand was so soft. He glanced at Yu and thought she was actually super cute. Suddenly, the ring gave them an additional task, which was to intertwine their fingers while holding hands for a minute without any other choice. After several attempts, they managed to do it, and after a minute, they took a deep breath as the task was finished. Cheng said the task was too easy, but Yu replied that he was so scared, and Cheng told her that even if she pretended to be brave, he knew she was about to cry. Meanwhile, the supervisor was listening to them as she hadn't hung up the phone. Marriage, what a wonderful thing. Two lovers form a family and do everything together. They share happiness, pain, and support each other. But for our poor Cheng, it's a disaster. He looks at the mess Yu created and angrily tells her to wake up. Yu wakes up and asks if it's breakfast time. Cheng shouts that it's already noon, so she asks for lunch. Cheng angrily tells her to cook something for herself. Cheng then receives a call from his supervisor telling him to make sure Yu never enters the kitchen. But it's too late because in front of Cheng's eyes, Yu destroys the table while cutting vegetables. It's at this moment that Cheng remembers the fear of being crushed by angels. He quickly gets down on his knees and begs her to let him be her servant. He says that whether it's cleaning, washing, or cooking, he will do everything for her and asks her to stop destroying the house. Unable to understand, Yu accepts. And after the repair costs, Cheng realizes that freedom is farther away than ever. The name of the protagonist is Jia Cheng, and he's a demon. Currently, due to certain circumstances, he was forced to marry and share his apartment with Yu, who is an angel. And because of their engagement ring, they have no choice but to abide by this arrangement. Yu was in a good mood as she was about to enjoy her pudding. But before she could eat it, Cheng snatches it from her hands and devours it. Irritated by this, Yu gets up and tries to hit Cheng. But he smiles because if the ring detects that its wearer intends to harm their partner, it plunges them into a state of sexual excitement. Cheng laughs because no matter how much anger he incites in Yu, she won't be able to defend herself. Yu searches for a book when she hears Cheng's voice complimenting her on her great backside. Yu tries to cover her rear and hit him in the face, but Cheng laughs and challenges her to do it, knowing that the power of the ring will prevent her from hurting him. All Yu can do is get angry. After some time, Yu vents all her anger on a tree by hitting it. The supervisor is present and praises Cheng for exploiting the ring's function to play tricks. This irritates her because instead of enduring this humiliation, she'd rather But before you can finish, the supervisor stops her and asks her to calm down because she has an incredible idea to propose. Cheng goes home and starts teasing her to make her angry. He takes popcorn in his hands and continues to provoke her by saying insults. Yu seems calm at first, then suddenly hits Cheng in the face. Cheng is dazed and confused because the ring was supposed to stop her. Yu explains that the ring only works when it detects animosity, but Yu replaced anger with love, allowing her to hit him. Fortunately for Yu, the ring gives them a new mission, which is to fully satisfy the man. Yu is perplexed about how to do it. So, to accomplish the mission, she decides to retaliate by violently hitting him and then tying him up. But Yu isn't finished. She takes one of Cheng's collectible toys and drops it on the ground. Cheng becomes so angry that the ring works its magic and makes him stop. He's plunged into a state of excitement that gives him pleasure, which disgusts her. Yu walks away and leaves Cheng alone. A little earlier, the supervisor reveals everything she needs to do to control her, both physically and emotionally. The plan worked perfectly for Yu. The next day, the ring gives them a new mission to go to an amusement park. They both go there, but the situation seems different for them. Yu is in a good mood and full of energy, while Cheng is tired and lacking motivation. Yu is surprised because it's her first time here. Cheng wants to put a loss prevention strap on their hand to avoid losing her. The reason being that Yu is a naive and new girl here. Yu agrees to put it on, and Cheng tells her he doesn't want to ride scary rides. On the other hand, Yu's mind is elsewhere. She wants to ride a roller coaster. Cheng agrees just to comply with the mission, and they find themselves on a roller coaster together. After the ride, Cheng is excited and seems to be in an adventurous mood. He participates in all the attractions. After all that, Yu gets Cheng a cool drink for his efforts. It's the first time she's had such an experience. Cheng is surprised because he doesn't feel any anger towards her. Cheng makes her realize what they did today. And Yu, who was in another world today, suddenly snaps back to reality. Yu becomes shy and tries to move away by hitting Cheng. A little later, the supervisor surprises them with disguised stuffed animals and tells them she works part-time here to make a living. She tells them about a fun event they both can participate in, an escape room or scary ghosts trying to scare them. Cheng doesn't believe it and tells her he's a demon, so these little tricks won't work on him. The supervisor senses this in him and proposes a bet that intrigues Cheng. She offers him a refund of the previous bill if he manages to stay in the room without screaming the whole time. But if he loses, he has to buy her a 30-day monthly subscription. Cheng accepts the offer and she grants it. The supervisor gives him a mobile phone, his accessory for the adventure. Before entering the room, Cheng thinks it's super easy and undoubtedly the easiest money of his life. But he's not ready for what's about to happen. Cheng enters a room, and suddenly a message arrives on his phone saying sorry and goodbye. He turns around and notices it's Yu approaching with a knife. Those that terrify them and make you laugh. Cheng lost the bet. The supervisor asks Cheng how their date went, which disgusts him. The supervisor feels like a proud mother because Yu learned everything on the internet after arriving in this new world. She sees Yu so happy after so long. The supervisor asks Cheng if he now prefers angels to fictional characters, and Cheng declines, but supposes that if she was developed at the chest level, maybe. Yu hears this and hits him, and they both continue their date. After some time, the ring indicates that their mission is now over. Cheng is happy and wants to go home as quickly as possible. He finds a lost little girl and wants to help her find her mother. Cheng is annoyed to hear this and tells her to leave the girl alone. Yu and Cheng start arguing about this. She tells Cheng unpleasant things, like demons are heartless, selfish, and narcissistic. Cheng is hurt and breaks their hand link. He tells her to do as she pleases, and they go their separate ways. Yu accompanies the little girl to help her find her mother, and Cheng is angry. Shortly after, some sort of announcement is made for a lost person. The lost person is Yu, searching for her family members. The presenter asks Cheng to hurry and tells him they'll run it on a loop. Meanwhile, the distressed damsel is Yu, who is comforted by the lost little girl. Her phone is dead, and she seems to doubt her decisions. She doubts that Cheng will come after the announcement. Suddenly, Cheng arrives running and tells them to stop the broadcast because he found a lady under a clock in a public square. He brought her along. The lady is the mother of the little girl, and Cheng reprimands Yu for her childish actions because he was the one who got them out of that situation. He has the right to do so. Yu realizes her mistake and needs to apologize. The lost mother and daughter bid them farewell. On the way back, Yu apologizes to Cheng for her actions and unpleasant words. Yu talks to him about her aversion to demons but that she has none towards Cheng. Approaching Cheng, she loses balance, falls onto him, and kisses him on the forehead. Yu becomes shy and hits him, wondering why the ring isn't working now. Yu is an angel sharing an apartment with Cheng, a demon. They're getting to know each other more and more every day. Yu has learned a lot about Cheng. She's learned that Cheng watches movies that make him cry, and he cries while watching them. He's addicted and serious about his action figures. He's a clean person, Yu starts to admire him more and more, and he gets angry when Yu is in the kitchen. Cheng has a great talent. He can cook like a professional chef, and Yu became a fan of his cooking after tasting it. Yu once asked him for his secret, and Cheng told her he learned to cook that way to save money. He saves money by buying cheap ingredients and adapting his culinary skills to save while still enjoying good food because he wants to live his life as an otaku and live well too. Yu gained a lot of weight living with Cheng. A little later, we see Yu getting lost on her way home using Google Maps. Yu notices villains beating and assaulting a lone boy. Meanwhile, Cheng has just bought an action figure and is eager to go home. Suddenly, his ring starts ringing and points in Yu's direction. The ring acts on its own and leads him to Yu. The scene is that Yu has beaten up all these villains. They can't believe their eyes, she's so strong. The leader of the villains shows up and says he's disappointed in them because they were beaten by a girl. Yu tells them they have guts to be here. Yu is excited to see her spinning knife. She compliments him for that and wants the knife for herself. The leader loses it after hearing her compliments and gives her the knife. After a sudden realization, Yu tells them to stop doing these kinds of things. Cheng enters the area flying, and his head hits the leader. The ring brought him here. The gang members get angry and prepare to fight. Cheng apologizes to them and tries to talk to them, even if the effort is met with fighting. Yu argues with Cheng about this behavior and tells him to fight. He doesn't care and just wants to spend time with his new action figure. One of the members finds his action figure, and Cheng hits him in the face for touching it, worsening the situation. With no other option, Cheng throws pepper in their faces and runs away from there with Yu. Yu also gets pepper in her eyes, which Cheng later wipes off. Cheng notices bruises on her hand from the fight, and Cheng gives her bandages to take care of her hand. Yu looks at the bandages and asks Cheng, blushing, why he gave them to her. She saw a book under Cheng's bed with pictures of girls putting these on their chest to cover their buttons. Cheng gets angry and asks her what kind of book she could read to see that. So, he takes her hand and puts the bandages on her himself. Finally, she knows what they're for. Yu suddenly gets interested in basketball because of the school club's activities. Cheng helps her by giving her manuals and videos. The next day, Cheng lacks sleep. The supervisor arrives and talks to Cheng about his presence. Both of them came to the basketball court to see Yu's performance. The match starts, and Yu displays inhuman abilities that amaze everyone. The supervisor explains that she can learn anything quickly. If she likes the activity, she can achieve maximum capacity just by learning. That's her advantage. Yu receives all the compliments in the world after showing her amazing skills. In the second quarter, the supervisor joins Yu's opposing team. Yu shows great skill again, but as she thinks she's in Kuroko's basketball, she breaks her wrist right after hitting the ball. The supervisor sympathizes with her and tells her not to hit a ball like that anymore. Yu explains that she learned to play from comics, and it was Cheng who taught her all that. Yu then realizes that Cheng played a trick on her, and she embarrassed herself. Her teammates come to console her, relieved that it's not her fault they lost the match. Yu suddenly slips, and the club president catches her, which was supposed to make Cheng jealous. Cheng convinces the supervisor that he doesn't care about Yu's love life. The girls want to change their sweat-soaked attire, but the club president is concerned about Yu's injury and guides her to the nurse's office. Without worrying about the situation, Cheng receives a new mission. He has to carry Yu to the nurse's office in 10 minutes. And the ring specifies that he must hold her like a princess in his arms. For the occasion, Cheng wears a mask and runs as fast as he can to find Yu and transport her to the nurse's office. This scares Yu, but they arrive just in time. Cheng has to finish his mission, so he has to become a nurse himself and treat her foot injury. Initially resistant, Yu eventually complies, and Cheng takes good care of her. Cheng explains that she played around in gym shoes, so it's normal for her to bend like that. Yu feels shy about being friends with her teammates since it's her first time playing with them. Cheng warns her not to get close to that handsome blonde. As Yu prepares to leave the locker room, she spots a female doctor who is listening to their conversation. She finds herself in a delicate situation and hastily leaves. Meanwhile, Cheng looks at photos of waifu lying in the schoolyard and considers scamming some people about household finances. On her end, Yu gets lost again and ends up disrupting the photography club's photo session. The guy taking pictures of girls changing turns out to be the president himself and a few of his friends. His videos and photos of girls garner a lot of views and subscribers. Naive Yu unknowingly opens the wrong door and surprises them. The president tries to convince Yu, but his friends are so loud that Yu overhears about the secret recording. She realizes then that it was they who filmed all along. The president orders them to catch her, unaware that she's an angel with inhuman powers. She easily overpowers them. The president threatens to publish her videos, which prompts her to stop and return to class. She fell into the president's trap. Cheng prepares a delicious meal. He forgot to pick up Yu from school. He's surprised at how she found her way back to school. She hasn't been speaking for a while, which bothers Cheng a lot. Chang ponders how to break the ice with her but fails to find something good and ends up yelling at her. He was in the dark from the start. Chang senses a new way to approach her. She eventually tells him that she saw the president with nude photos of the girls in the class. Chang tells her he knew it because he sensed a malevolent aura coming from him. He explains that as a demon, he gets along well with such people. Chang correctly guesses how she fell into the president's trap. He advises you not to get involved with that guy because a cunning person like him can trap her and cause a lot of damage. Chang doesn't want you to get into trouble with such things. In a flashback to the scene where Yu was being blackmailed into silence, the president shows her nude photos of her friends and tells her he'll publish them if she speaks about their plan. In response, Yu tells him that he doesn't understand her situation. The president approaches her and tells her that it's she who doesn't understand, that not everyone thinks like her. He explains that if the photos are published, her friends will be looked at strangely in public. They might drop out of school. Their social lives will be destroyed and they'll fall into despair. They emphasize that the psychological trauma will prevent them from living a normal life, and Yu will be solely to blame for it. He proposes that Yu keeps the secret, which would be beneficial for both of them. In class, the teacher calls Yu's name as she's absent. She suddenly realizes this and shouts that she's there. The supervisor worries about Yu and asks if something happened because she's been distracted all day. Yu tries to hide it by saying she's okay, but the supervisor pinches her cheek and asks her to tell her what's wrong, as she's known her for a long time. After reconsidering what Chang told her, Yu finds an excuse by saying she's not feeling well and that a little rest will do her good. She gets away with it. The president's friends ask if it's really okay to let Yu escape like that. The president replies that Yu is like a time bomb, and he needs to let time pass, as it's been a long time since he had a prey as fascinating as her. Meanwhile, Chang is angry because he lost the money he spent on a video game and lies on the grass. He's just lost an entire month's salary and wonders what Yu is doing. He realizes he was too harsh on her the previous day when he thinks that Yu is his wife and does all this for the contract. He doesn't want to be a side plot of NTR. The supervisor punishes Chang for his behavior by tying him to a tree branch using a rope. She calmly greets him, saying, "It's been a long time since we've seen each other." Chang is furious at his behavior, as if she had lost her mind, and demands him to bring her down. It's just to prevent her from escaping because she has questions to ask her. As Yu passes through the hallway, she hides and listens to the boys who were filming earlier. She notices the sign of the club locker room and tries her luck by opening the door. Luckily, the door isn't locked. Yu enters inside and intends to find the device they installed, which would turn out to be conclusive evidence. She doesn't want to repeat the same mistakes. Meanwhile, Chang is suspended and struggling. The supervisor, on the other hand, worries about the dark clouds and the impending rain. She questions Chang about Yu's strange behavior, to which Chang shouts at her and tells her to question Yu herself. Yu always comes to her first if something happens. That's why she's worried about her. The supervisor explains that when she asked Yu, she got angry and ran away, which made the supervisor even more curious, wondering if Yu hates her. Chang asks why she tied her up. He responds that if she really wants to know, it would make more sense to tie up Yu. The supervisor says she can't bring herself to do that to the lovely Yu. Angered, Chang questions if it's acceptable to do this to him. The supervisor thinks it is and tells him to stop talking nonsense. She doesn't feel guilty but rather takes pleasure in doing this to Chang. Chang lies to the supervisor about Yu. He tells her that Yu got herself into trouble by disguising herself as a knight in shining armor. But due to her annoying kindness and stupidity, she was manipulated by a group of humans. So instead of wasting time with Chang, she should search for Yu, who might be up to a new mischief. Yu checks Chang's lockers and finds nothing. She wonders if she got the wrong locker room. Suddenly, she notices a key lying around. She grabs the key, which appears to be a locker key. She then finds the evidence of the video recording inside a charging port. The president and his friends suddenly appear and take a photo of her with the evidence. He says he didn't expect a girl to be the culprit, and it's perfectly logical for a girl not to raise suspicion by entering and leaving the girls' locker room. He realizes the situation and confronts them disgracefully. Yu, with quick reflexes, seizes the phone in her hand and tells him that the photos she saw on his phone last time will make good evidence. The president trapped her as his photos were erased and stored elsewhere. It's too late for her to take such action, and he thanks her for being so foolish. Yu grabs him by the collar and insults him. The president responds with an innocent face to calm down and stop resisting because it's not too late for her to incriminate herself. Yu was terrified by how he could act so innocently while hiding his cruelty inside, as if he were a demon. She then flees. The boy next to the president filmed everything that happened. As Yu flees, the supervisor notices her and asks Chang what he meant by enjoy her. Chang suddenly disappears. After a while, Chang is relieved because he managed to retrieve the laundry he had hung outside before it started raining. He was almost late because of the supervisor, as it started raining at that moment. He remembers Yu's face and wonders what could have happened, as she had never made such an expression. 3 hours pass, but Yu hasn't returned yet. Cheng worries about her as she wasn't even answering calls. With no other choice, he puts on his shoes and goes out in the rain to look for her. He searches desperately all over the city. Cheng goes to various places in the city and asks a few girls about Yu, but no one knows where she is. Drenched by the rain, Cheng returns home, wondering where Yu might have gone. To his surprise, he finds her completely drenched outside his apartment door. Cheng gets angry and asks her why she's in that state. He makes her understand that she hasn't seen anything of the real world yet, that she's naive, and she can't always let others take advantage of her. He then insults all angels and tells her to leave if she can't handle frustration. Yu loses her temper and lunges at him, ready to hit him, but Cheng asks her not to overreact. He looks at her face and realizes how broken-hearted she is. Yu grabs the umbrella and hits him in the face. Cheng then asks her if she feels better after hitting him. Yu drops the umbrella as she realizes what happened. She repeatedly apologizes as she didn't mean to hurt him. Then, she rushes into her room, closes the door, and breaks down in tears. She doesn't know what she's doing and keeps crying. Cheng is hurt by the blow he received, and it's still raining outside. Cheng informs the supervisor that Yu has finally entered. The supervisor goes out in the rain and sighs with relief after reading Cheng's message. Cheng still feels the pain from the bruise. He's furious that Yu isn't coming out. It's 11 p.m. She still hasn't left her room, and her dinner is getting cold. Yu's tearful face appears in Cheng's mind, and he can't help but worry about her. Suddenly, the ring screams, "Danger, danger, danger." The ring makes strange noises and leads him to her room. He discovers she hasn't locked her room. He enters and sees Yu unconscious on the floor. Cheng tries to wake her up, but Yu seems to have a high fever. Cheng mutters that she stayed wet for so long. It would be a miracle if she didn't catch a cold. He lays her on the bed and suddenly realizes he needs to change her wet clothes. Cheng slowly unbuttons her skirt, thinking about his waifu, but unable to control himself, he glances at her, and bad thoughts come to his mind. He changes all her clothes and puts a wet towel on her forehead. Yu finally wakes up, and Cheng tells her to quickly take the medicine because he has other things to do. But Yu seems to be in a trance, saying medicine. The supervisor just finished showering when she receives a call from Cheng. Cheng tells her that Yu attacked him out of nowhere and acted like a predator. When the supervisor understands he tried to make her take medicine, she explains that Yu took medicine in her childhood and vomited all day. Since then, whenever she hears the word medicine, it triggers her, and she starts attacking people nearby. Cheng is confused because a sick person shouldn't be like that. He then asks why Lano isn't stopping Yu. The supervisor explains it's because she's unconscious. She adds that Lano won't do anything because he doesn't sense any negative emotions from Yu. Cheng shouts and asks if there's another way to stop her. The supervisor advises him to make her drink the medicine that can calm her down, but Cheng has no way to do it in her current state. Suddenly, a halo appears over her head, and the supervisor warns him that the halo isn't just a decoration. Yu distorts her halo and throws it towards Cheng. The weapon speeds toward him, but Cheng dodges it and mocks Yu, saying that's all she's got. He may have dodged the weapon, but it broke his beloved figurine. The halo comes back like a boomerang. Cheng is dismayed as he spent a lot of time assembling it. To avoid further destruction, Cheng puts the medicine in his mouth so he can make her drink it. After attacking and dodging for a while, Cheng manages to bring her down and gives her the medicine from his mouth. Finally, Yu calms down, and Cheng puts her on the bed. Cheng was so tired from everything that happened, and he hears Yu talking in her sleep, saying she's sorry. Cheng pinches her face and wonders why she's so cute in her sleep. As Cheng was about to leave, Yu grabs his hand in her sleep. He tries his best to free himself but can't get his hand out. She then mumbles in her sleep not to add coriander, to add beef, and that she wants a very large portion. Cheng doesn't understand what's happening, and she ends up swallowing his hand instead. In the morning, Yu wakes up and finds herself holding Cheng's hand with bite marks all around. Yu sees the towel and bandage Cheng put on her forehead. Cheng wakes up after she touches him, unable to understand what he should do. She covers herself with a blanket and falls asleep. Cheng checks her body temperature, which seems to have dropped, but Cheng himself seems to be sneezing and hopes not to get infected. Yu tries to recall what happened when she notices she's changed clothes. She yells at Cheng and asks why she's dressed like that. Cheng lies to her, saying he doesn't know, but he ends up having a nosebleed. As they argue, the neighbors detect very shocking behavior from their neighbors. A while later, Yu and Cheng walk along a trail. Suddenly, Yu receives a message. She apologizes to Cheng for the day before and leaves, but Cheng tells her to stop as she's going the wrong way. After a while, Yu enters a warehouse where the president and his friends are already waiting. They check her bag and grab her phone as a precaution. The president apologizes for calling her to such a strange place and for yesterday's incident. He promises not to publish the videos if she does what he says. He also promises to share the profits from the activities if she follows him. He approaches her and puts his hand on her shoulder. But to his surprise, Yu grabs his hand and pushes him away. Yu says she no longer wants to waste her time with him. She gave him one last chance to return the videos and surrender. Furious with her behavior, the president threatens her again. Yu regrets her decision to run away as she should have beaten him earlier. But before she can do anything, Chang arrives running and tells them not to move. But he loses balance and falls on Yu, hitting his head. After a while, Yu scolds Chang because it's because of him they were captured. The president calls Chang an idiot and wonders where he came from. He then instructs a member of his team to inform security that they have caught the perpetrators of the secret filming. But Chang begs him to stop and asks if he can switch sides. He tries to escape by placing all the blame on Yu. Chang proposed to be the president's lackey in exchange for a small share of the profits. He approached King and pulled out the phone that had been hidden in King's shirt. Mocking King, he remarked that he couldn't be fooled by such a simple trick. However, King instantly produced a second phone and handed it to the president, enraged by King's behavior. The president smashed both phones. King then revealed a third phone and asked the president to break it as well. Furiously, the president snatched the phone from King's hands and crushed it. But King smiled and asked if the president really thought those were the phones in question. The other two members then yelled that the first two phones were theirs. To the president's surprise, even his phone was no longer in his pocket. Suddenly, he heard King comment, as expected from the president, that it was wise to use two phones for precaution. The president was shocked. Not only had King managed to free himself, but he had also moved incredibly fast. They then heard King mention a way to restore deleted files. He unlocked the phone and praised the president for his magnificent collection. The president hastily leaped to snatch the phone from King's hands once again. But upon checking his phone, he realized King had been lying. King rushed and claimed it was just a joke, but his smile widened, hinting at something hidden in the phone that troubled the president. Suddenly, the phone rang, and King told him to check the message as it held a surprise. The president listened to the recording on the phone and was shocked. It was a recording from moments earlier when he had been threatening Yu. King then informed the group that he was a special investigator assigned by the school, and had installed listening devices in the locker room. While the other boys worried about being exposed, King smiled again, revealing it was yet another joke. In truth, the person recording was Yu. The president was stunned as he was being filmed. King told him that Yu's naivety had made them drop their guard. He added that, thanks to Yu's naturally flat chest, slipping a phone under Yu's clothes was no trouble. The president then realized Yu and King were working together. King approached the president and said, the recording being made is actually a live broadcast, and all your family, friends, and colleagues are watching. The president accused King of lying, claiming it was impossible for King to do such a thing. But King retorted that if he thought he was lying, he could click the link and see for himself. King also mentioned that he had already sent his location, so a crowd would soon arrive. The president, desperate and trembling after hearing King's words, gathered his courage and was about to click on the link when suddenly, someone knocked on the door and interrupted them. But it was none other than King, who was just having fun. King then freed Yu and told her to take care of things from here. The other two members attacked but were easily defeated. While Yu fought with the president, King recorded the scene and cheered her on. The president grabbed a pipe and tried to attack Yu, but she hit him in the groin. As she prepared to deliver a finishing blow, the supervisor appeared and delivered a spinning kick that broke his teeth. She then asked King if he had seen her awesome move on the video. They then tied up the president and his friends. Yu asked King if there really were a lot of people outside the room. King smiled and revealed that the live video and location were just a lie to scare the president. Yu was very impressed by King, who had gone all in on a lie. While King considered blackmailing the group for money, the supervisor confiscated the phone. King tried to stop her, but the supervisor stated it was against the law. She also threatened King to revoke his allowance if he didn't give it up. After a while, King scolded Yu for everything that had happened. He called her an idiot incapable of handling any problem, mentioned she ate more than anyone he knew, couldn't handle household chores, and especially had a washboard instead of a chest. Yu told him her chest had nothing to do with anything, but King scolded her more for getting worked up easily. He admitted he just meant she was flat. Yu apologized for all the trouble she caused and for hitting him, but King asked what was the point of apologizing when it had already happened. Yu then exclaimed, "What do you want me to say? That you can get revenge if you want." Suddenly, she heard King's voice telling her that she had said it herself. He said he had been waiting for this for a long time, and he didn't force her to do it, so she couldn't take her words back now. He raised his hand, and Yu closed her eyes, expecting a slap, but he just flicked her and said he was joking. He told her that next time she found herself in such a situation, she should just tell him everything. He realized his mistake and promised to be more present to solve problems together. He then smiled and asked her how she felt after seeing his men being tricked. You smiled and replied that it was really funny. The police arrived and questioned King about the suspects. Suddenly, the warehouse door opened, and the group begged the officers to take them and admit their crime. King asked the supervisor what she had done exactly to make him so obedient. She replied that she had just scolded them. That's when the other girls arrived and hugged you. King was confused and wondered why people kept coming. The supervisor gave him the reason. It was because she had uploaded the video on the internet. She also reveals that she earned a lot of money thanks to that video, which went viral. The next day, you was surprised to see King's tail sticking out. Unable to control herself, she approached and grabbed it, thinking something would happen. King looked at her angrily, and she quickly apologized. She explained that in anime, when someone grabs the tail, the character feels something, so she wanted to see how he would react. King scolded her, asking if she really thought he would yell like an anime character. But King was still confused because he hadn't realized his tail was out. You noticed King's face color was odd, so she asked if he was okay. She tried to take his temperature on his forehead, which surprised King. You explained that's how the supervisor always checks her temperature. She then told him his body temperature was high and he had a cold. King checked the temperature and confirmed he had a fever. He remembered the time he gave medicine to you and realized that's why this happened. Suddenly, Yu's ring started ringing and assigned her the task of taking care of her partner. She told King not to worry because she would take care of him very well. But first, she gave him hot, boiling liquids. Then, instead of applying an ice pack, she covered him in ice. Next, she poured a whole bottle of shampoo into the washing machine. Then she used a vacuum cleaner to clean the shelves. King then understood that the gods had sent you to punish him. King's fever worsened by the minute, and his vision blurred. He decided to take a nap and asked you to give him a pillow. After searching for a while, you managed to bring him the pillow. But unconsciously, King grabbed you instead of the pillow. Before you could say anything, King's tail caught her and began moving upwards. You tried to wake King, telling him he had mistaken her for a pillow. But the tail prevented her from doing anything. Suddenly, Yu's face became expressionless because even in his sleep, King said she was as hard as steel. After a minute, King had a slap mark on his face and was tied up by his tail. You then looked at King's face and sighed. Suddenly, King recovered from his fever and felt very warm. He opened his eyes and saw you in her angel form. She covered his body with her wings and provided warmth through her halo. King asked her what she had done. You explained it was the blessing of angels, which allows the blessed person to escape illnesses and calamity. She also revealed it was the first time she had done it and didn't know it worked on demons too. King quickly moves away from her and tells her never to use his body for her experiments. However, he feels much better now and praises Yu's abilities. Yu is very happy to hear praises coming from King's mouth. King then asks her if she was capable of such a trick, so why hadn't she done it earlier? But Yu tries to change the subject because this technique has a particular prerequisite. She can't tell him that the precondition is to kiss the forehead. King then tells her about his strange dream. At first, he was having fun on a small island, but suddenly, he crashed into a steel wall. Finally, a meteorite hit the island, causing it to sink to the bottom of the sea. If you understand, he refers to the moment when he was in bed with you and she slapped him afterward. The next day, King was lying on the couch and having a blast because you was dressed as a maid and serving him. Some time ago, you had insisted with King to entrust her with a task so she could thank him for helping her. She promises to do anything King wants as long as it's within her power. After hearing her, King smiles and agrees to fulfill her request. He entrusts her with the task of wearing the maid costume and serving him for a day. He then tells her to address him as master for today. Yu is initially hesitant, but after King makes her understand that he's hurt, she agrees. King, thoroughly enjoying this moment, orders her to massage his feet, but to his great surprise, Yu quickly agrees. As she massages his feet, King wonders why she's so obedient. He decides to test her patience by assigning her several tasks. He asks her to clean the living room, give him manga and organize them by number. Yu obeys all of King's orders and does her best to make him happy. He then tells her he wants to rest on her lap because he's tired. After a while, Yu brings water to King but spills it on the floor. King mocks her, but instead of retaliating against King, Yu quietly cleans the floor. King calls her boring because no matter what he does, she doesn't get angry. But Yu responds that it's all her fault and she won't get angry because it's her path to redemption. King asks her if she's really serious and won't get angry no matter what he does. He then insults her, calling her stupid washboard, an idiot with no sense of direction, stupid gluten, a stupid dog's crap, a monstrous gorilla, which starts to anger Yu. King then gropes her chest and asks if she added padding because the size doesn't suit him. This angers Yu, and she attempts to hit King. As King dodged her blows, she told him that if she hadn't added padding, the dress would have fallen off because it was too big for her. King smiled and asked why she was getting upset. He then ordered her to go to the store to buy him snacks and ice cream. and since it was her final order, he told her to go dressed as a maid. Yu was annoyed but still agreed to go. Outside the store, a young girl stretches and says she has finally arrived. At the same time, Yu walks home after buying the ice cream, and as everyone stares at her, she decides to hurry home. But as usual, she gets lost on the way and arrives late. With no other choice, she looks around and flies with her wings. She sees her house from the sky and rushes there. At the same time, King was still waiting for her arrival. He thought she had gotten lost again. That's when he noticed something in the sky. It was Yu speeding toward him. Unable to stop, she collided with King but thankfully landed on his face. After a while, King scolds her for using her powers outside. Yu apologizes and takes out a gift to offer him. She said that when she was sick, she broke many of his things, so she wanted to apologize by giving him a gift. She gives him the gift and tells him it contains a toy that was the best seller in the store. King is excited and thinks it might be Optimus Prime or a Gucci figurine. But he's disappointed because it's an Ultraman Saucy. He looks at Yu, but after seeing her innocent face, he says he likes it. At the same time, the same girl from before was looking at a photo on her phone and noticed someone in the sky. She smiled and wondered if the girl in the photo was an angel. The next day, Lano gave King and Yu a new mission. It was to play a game together and have fun. King wasn't happy about having to play with stupid Yu, but suddenly he had a bad idea. He proposed to Yu to make this mission a bit more fun by organizing a contest. He told her that the winner gets to make a request, and the loser must fulfill it. Ignoring King's true intentions, Yu accepted his request, and as they were about to play, King thought Yu was stupid because she didn't know he was among the top 8 players in this combat game. The game starts, and a diabolical smile appears on King's face, but within seconds, he loses the game. Yu then mocks King and calls him a noob. Furious, King challenges her again and again but loses every time. Yu mocks King, who is so desperate but still can't win a single game. Then, Yu tells him that she has already played this game. She shows him her username in the game, which is Patrick Star under the name Akashin. This shocks King because Yu is a legendary player who far surpasses others on the leaderboards but recently disappeared suddenly. Yu tells him not to call her by that name because she chose it impulsively and now can't change it. She explained that she rarely went out, so she spent her time playing video games. The supervisor always brought her something fun from the human world, but since she arrived in the human world, she hasn't played much. She then saw a game she had never played before, and King challenged her to play that one. He regained confidence because he was the winner of the tournament, and it's the game he masters the best. Yu quickly checks the rules of the game and accepts the challenge. But even in this game, King just keeps losing. He thinks that even though it's her first time playing this game, she's already so skilled. He remembers how easily she learned basketball from a manga and wonders what kind of monster Yu is. King played numerous matches but didn't win a single one. While playing, Yu asked King why he hated angels so much. King replied that all angels are arrogant and they only talk about stupid ideals and facts completely disconnected from reality. Rai agreed with what King said but added that she also fought against demons before. However, recently, her mindset has changed a bit. King then asked her what all angels think of demons. He responded that demons are despicable beings, always trying to circumvent societal rules. They are in a way the destroyers of the world. King said that until recently, he thought the same. But thanks to their relationship, he now knows that there are people like her among the angels. King then called her a brainless idiot and asked her how she had managed to survive until now. He replied that there used to be people who cleaned her room, did the laundry, cooked meals, etc. This irritated King a bit, and he asked if she was a princess. Yu looked at him tenderly and asked what he would do if she were a princess. King thought Yu was super cute and then punched himself to calm down. As King was telling Yu that he didn't believe her, the ring announced that their mission was over. Yu smiled and claimed victory in their little competition. So, what would she make him do? The first task she gave King was to cook dishes based on photos. King took out his phone to check the recipe and was shocked. He saw a message on his phone and realized it was from Yu. He showed the message to Yu and asked if the person in the photo was her. Yu replied no. He then accused her of lying and not being careful about using her powers outside. King thought that if things got serious, they'd be in trouble. After a while, the supervisor arrived and informed them that there would be significant trouble. She mentioned that if Yu's identity was revealed, she would be dismissed. Yu asked King for help, but he refused, telling her she had to handle it herself. Even the supervisor refused to assist because it would cause problems if the higher-ups found out. She then told King that if Yu's identity was revealed, he would be accused of the same crime. Despite being angry, King had no choice but to quickly fix things. He apologized to King for also putting him in that situation, but King told him not to worry because he had already gotten used to it. However, he reprimanded Yu nonetheless, telling him not to cause him any more trouble. Yu offered to help, but King refused, telling him to wait until he resolved the issue. After a while, he was in class and wondering where to start. He looked at the account of the girl who had uploaded Yu's photo. Suddenly, 2 students arrived and said they didn't know they were following Yen. Yen is a very popular presenter with a beautiful voice and figure. She's the perfect example of what a girl should be. King finds her boring and asks what's so interesting about her. He suggests watching one of her live broadcasts, believing he'll understand. While watching her live stream, he fell in love with Yen and wondered how such a perfect girl could exist. At the same time, Yu was in the cafeteria with her friends. Her friends showed her the photo and asked what she thought about it. They said the girl's hair color was the same as hers. When they looked at her to ask her opinion, Yu was already gone. The supervisor was near a vending machine buying a Coke. Suddenly, she noticed Yu approaching her at high speed, and before she could react, Yu jumped on her. She looks at her, eyes filled with tears, and asks what she should do now. The supervisor pats her head and tells her not to worry, that she will find a solution. Meanwhile, elsewhere, girls were looking at a man, thinking he was very handsome, but they were puzzled because he was buying black stockings in the women's clothing store. At the same time, King was looking at Yen's profile, wondering why she always posted in the evening. He then noticed something on the road and leaned over to pick it up. At that moment, the same man from earlier started running, saying it was already too late. As he ran, King suddenly appeared in front of him, and they collided. King called him an idiot, but the man quickly picked up his bag and ran off. King found the man strange but decided to forgive him since he was in a good mood that day. He mumbled that the limited edition wasn't easy to get, but instead of his toy, there was a black silk scarf roaming in his bag. He realized that the guy from earlier had taken his bag and fled. King quickly ran after the guy, thinking he must have targeted his bag from the start. Unbeknownst to everyone, the supervisor was sitting on a tree, saying everything had gone perfectly. 6 hours before the incident, she had disguised herself as a delivery person and put up a sign for that guy. She then gave him a brochure from a new clothing store. After tricking the customer, she called King to congratulate him on winning a free ticket for an offline lottery. King went to the store to claim his prize, and the supervisor, dressed as a saleswoman, handed him his prize. As he was leaving, she gave him a 50% discount voucher for a nearby shopping center. As he was heading home, he noticed a white dragon card with blue eyes on the road and tried to pick it up. And just like that, she had set a trap for both of them because she was the one who switched their bags. At the same time, Yu was feeling down, thinking she couldn't do anything. Suddenly, she heard King's voice calling someone a jerk. She looked back and saw King chasing someone. But before he could enter, he saw King running towards him angrily. He tried to stop King, but communication with him was currently impossible. Unable to understand anything, he decided to run away, saying it was almost time. He thought he had managed to deceive King, but he felt a demonic presence chasing him. King then jumped on him and managed to bring him down. The young man apologized to King for running away and asked him why he was chasing him. King tells him to stop fooling around as he intended to rob him. The sun sets before their eyes, and the guy starts crying, saying it's time. Suddenly, King is shocked to see the guy beginning to transform into a woman. First, his chest, then his hands, then his legs, and just like that, he transformed into a pretty girl. King couldn't believe his eyes, but then he notices a tail on the girl's back. He looks at her face and recognizes her as Yen Sama. He tells her he's her biggest fan and has seen all her shows and videos. Yen asks him why he isn't surprised after seeing her, but King responds that there's no reason to be surprised because he's a demon himself. Yen lets out a sigh of relief as they're of the same kind. But King realizes something and asks how, even if Yen is a demon, can he transform into a woman? Yen explains it's due to a curse from an angel. He tells his story. 8 years ago, he was looking for girls to date. Suddenly, an angelic girl approached him and said, "Since you love women so much, turn yourself into a woman." When he came to his senses, he had a woman's body. And since then, every evening, his body transforms into a woman's. He cried out that he had been suffering for 8 years, and due to the curse, he can no longer flirt with pretty girls. Worse yet, he must beware of guys who stink, and he does that every day. But King tells him it's his fault because he should have settled for just one woman. But Yen replies that King understands nothing because it's impossible for him to settle for just one woman. King shuddered, realizing that Yen is a 100% authentic man. He cries inwardly, thinking that the internet is full of lies. King then asks Yen how come his social media accounts have so many followers. Yen replied, it's because he understands how men think and 99% of his fans are men. He also added that he only does this because being a presenter is an easy way to make a lot of money. And with his body, he likes to extract money from his disciples. King then asks him to return his money. But faced with Yen's handsome face, King can't do anything. King then understands everything about the curse and that Yen is looking for the angel he cursed to rid himself of the curse. Yen adds that he came here to find salvation in his miserable life. But King asks him, how is that a curse? Because it's every man's dream to transform into a woman at night. It's doubly amusing. He can go into the women's bath and the changing rooms. King cried and said he could even cuddle and be friends with girls without a problem. But Yen gritted his teeth and said that King understood nothing. He said that even he thought about all these things, but he can't do them because his Excalibur is out of place. King fell into despair because he now understands everything. Yen cried and said he thought about all sorts of things, but the moment he transformed into a girl, all his desires vanished, and as he looked at unclothed girls, he felt nothing. Moreover, there's a small issue with this curse. If he loses his virginity while he's a woman, he can never go back. Yen then sees a cucumber in King's hand and angrily asks him to put it back where it belongs. He also tells King that the condition to lift the curse is too brutal. He must fall in love with a girl and build a good relationship with her. King is even more enraged as Yen describes this condition as brutal. He tells Yen to go find someone he'll fall in love with to lift the curse, but Yen refuses and says he can't fall in love with someone who isn't as beautiful as he is as a girl. So he has only one option, to find the angel and have them lift the curse. And he heard there were traces of their activity in this region. That's why he came here. He then asked King if he knew an angel who used to intimidate weak demons. King thought of the EIU supervisor, but he concluded that those two wouldn't work out. King asks Yen what he plans to do exactly after finding this angel. Yen replies that he will physically and mentally torture her and teach her a lesson for playing with a demon. King cries and says he understands his feelings because he himself said something like that. Yen also starts crying and they recognize each other as brothers due to the same pain and suffering. They then declared that from that day on, they were blood brothers. King then asked Yen for a favor, which he quickly accepted. But when King reveals that the favor involves touching his breasts, Yen moves away from him. But King, with anger, says he can't rely solely on words and needs proof to fully trust him. He adds that since they're both men, there's not much to do. Yen asks in a low voice, what if he allows him to touch them? Will he truly believe him? King replies, yes, he will believe him. So, Yen tells him to go for it. But just as King's hand is about to reach his breasts, Yu arrives and sends him flying with a kick. Yen looks at Yu's beautiful form and feels something in his heart. Yu then takes Yen's hands and asks if she's okay and if this pervert hurt him. King stands up and calls Yu foolish for kicking him. But Yu angrily shouts that the fool is him, for he harmed an innocent girl in a dark alley. But King points at Yen and says he's not a girl but a wicked demon. Yu looks at Yen's features and doesn't believe King. Yen then approaches Yu, takes her hands, and asks if she's his angel. Yu is shocked and asks King how this girl knows her identity. King calls her foolish and pushes her away from Yen. He then gets to the main question and explains to Yen everything regarding the photo. Yen understands everything and that watching is searching for him, but he refuses to delete the photo. He said he'd gain nothing by deleting it. It's already making him a lot of money. He adds that the worst part is that Yu is an angel and she'll never help him. At the same time, Yu looked at Yen's tail and unable to control herself, she grabs it, seeing a shock run through Yen's body. Who tells her to stop as his tail is very sensitive. Even though Yu apologized for grabbing his tail, in reality, she was happy about Yen's reaction. King praised Yu and told her to grab the tail again, which she quickly did. King takes Yen's phone and films his reaction. He tells him that if he doesn't want his shameful video to go viral, he must delete the photo of Yu. Yu tries to stop King from doing this and tells him he's going too far. But King tells her to be quiet and adds that it's because of her that he's doing all this. He asks her if she wants to pack her bags and return to her planet, to which Yu answers no. King says that when it comes to demons, the demon's voice is the only possible way and that nobody knows demons better than him. He then questions Yen about his decision because his patience is not infinite. Yu knows what she's doing is wrong, but for some reason, Yen's reaction makes her want to continue. Yen calls him a traitor, but faced with Yu's torture, he agrees to delete the photo. Yu worries whether everything will turn out okay or not, but King tells her not to worry because he's prepared for this possibility. After deleting Yu's photo, King considers blackmailing Yen, but Yu seizes the phone and erases Yen's video. She then returned his phone and apologized for putting him through this because she had no other choice. As compensation, she promised to help Yen if he ever finds himself in a difficult situation. Yen thought she was kind and apologized for being too selfish. Thus, for now, the perfect solution has been found. Valentine's Day, the most romantic holiday for couples, involves expressing love through presents and romantic gestures. Yet, without Valentine's Day chocolates, the celebrations feel incomplete. Boys eagerly anticipate receiving chocolates on this day, yearning to step into adulthood. Chang, however, bought chocolates yearly for himself on the awaited day. Heavy rain led to a frustrating traffic jam while she received a package at home. Amidst her contemplation, Chang was shocked to find the package signed for. Realizing her habit of instantly opening packages, he rushed home to find her consuming his chocolate. Distraught, he lunged at her, but she resisted. In a tense struggle, she managed to repel him. Clarifying that she hadn't touched the package, she directed him to its location. Retrieving it, Chang questioned the similarity of her chocolates to his ordered ones. She explained receiving them from the supervisor, prohibited from selling them until after the holiday. Chang's dreams shattered upon realizing the truth. Lamenting on the floor, she offered him chocolates, explaining that she made them with friends. She convinced Chang it was safe to consume. Trusting her, Chang tasted the chocolates, expressing their exceptional taste. However, unbeknownst to her, her friend's advice was to refrain from cooking. The following morning, Yin arrived seeking her help with his curse. Despite her initial shock, she realized he was the same person whose tail she had grabbed. This surprising turn of events left you in shock as Yin, now a male and notably taller, introduced himself to you. He expressed admiration, calling you a cute angel, and requested your help in reversing a curse. Before clarity could settle, Chen intervened, throwing water to halt Yin's advance. Angered, Yin demanded answers regarding your connection to Chang, who deflected the question. With the situation escalating, you diverted attention, mentioning the arrival of the supervisor, someone Yin was keen to meet based on your description of her as knowledgeable and reliable. Upon reaching the location, Chang cautioned Yin, but he dismissed the warning, believing there wouldn't be issues meeting a girl. As Yin entered, Chang teased you about Yin's excitement, leading to a confrontation where Chang's attempt at humor backfired. Meanwhile, Yin, entering the place, encountered a surprise attack from behind a door, leading to the entrance of the supervisor. She reprimanded Yin for entering without knocking, revealing an unexpected job application by Yin's name. Distressed and feeling deceived, Yin realized the supervisor had orchestrated everything. Attempting to flee, Yin was swiftly captured and warned by the supervisor, who demonstrated her power. Observing the situation, Yu and Chang noted the supervisor's demeanor, signaling she found amusement in the situation. Days later, while navigating back home, your encounter with Luai, a second-year student and streamer, led to an unexpected request for help due to her tardiness for a tennis tournament stream featuring her and her kohai. Subsequently, preparations for the tournament involving you and Leo commenced. While Luai initiated her live stream, you inquired about tennis, surprising Leo, who wasn't aware of your lack of experience in the sport. The opposing team ridiculed and warned you both to retreat to avoid injury. Despite concerns about slowing Leo down, Leo assured you to trust her. As the first round began, Luo demonstrated tennis techniques, teaching you the basics. Astonishing the opponents, Luo's skillful play impressed you, and you quickly grasped the instruction. The opponents aimed at you, perceiving you as the weakest link. Unexpectedly, you displayed incredible agility, returning the ball with remarkable speed and strength, earning praise from Luo. When the second team arrived, boasting of their expertise, you surprised them with a powerful serve. However, one opponent got distracted by your attire, accusing you of playing unfairly. Leo jokingly warned against swinging too hard to avoid a wardrobe malfunction, but Luo intervened, fearing repercussions for her stream. Angered by your perceived unsportsmanlike conduct, the opponent retaliated forcefully, causing a mishap that hit Luo. The audience ridiculed them, and Luo cautioned you about the formidable opponent. Fueled by anger, you urged Luo to leave the opponents to you, vowing to reclaim dignity. The match ended lopsidedly due to the opponent's withdrawal before the final battle. Afterward, Luo thanked you for your assistance and left for other commitments, leaving her phone behind. Chad appeared, upset for not finding Luo earlier, and revealed tracking her through a stream. The next day, Chang inquired about Yin's presence in their school, learning about the supervisor's enrollment on Yin's behalf, causing Yin distress over enduring the supervisor's year-long torture. Later, Yin returned dressed as a girl, pondering the supervisor's mysterious knowledge of his curse, leaving him uneasy. You interrupted, questioning why Yin had chosen to wear women's attire. Yin defended the choice, stating there's no issue with a girl dressing in clothes that suit her, emphasizing the discomfort he'd feel wearing men's clothing after his transformation. He explained his habit of wearing underwear to prevent any visibility issues. Asking why Chang was present, Yin found amusement in Chang's unwitting involvement in a marriage scheme. Examining the ring from the contract, Yin sensed something peculiar about it, noting the conventional placement of a wedding ring on the left hand's ring finger, surprising Chen with this observation. Feeling a sense of familiarity with the ring, Yin couldn't recall where he'd seen it before, and he directed insults at Chang regarding the other party involved in the marriage scheme. As you arrived and questioned Chang's summons, Yin greeted you but noticed the identical ring on your hand, prompting him to connect you with the other party. Shocked by this revelation, Yin confronted Chen, who seemed to be speaking to you in a manner akin to a married couple, doubting the legitimacy of your marriage to Chang. Yin asked for confirmation, to which you affirmed the marriage, citing personal reason. This revelation further dismayed Yin, who regretted not understanding the potential benefits of the marriage scheme earlier. He expressed disdain for Chang, urging you to divorce him, claiming he'd treat you far better. Before you could respond, Chen rejected Yin's proposal, citing the binding nature of the contract. Disheartened by this rule, Yin pondered who had added it to the contract and attempted to pull you away, urging you to break things off with Chen to be with him. Chen refused, emphasizing the irrevocable nature of the contract. Frustrated, Yin criticized Chen's spending habits, alleging expenditures on action figures and games. He likely accrued substantial debt, so she shouldn't allow him to burden her. You interjected, praising Chang's culinary skills. Yin countered, stating Chang had to learn to cook due to financial constraints, being too poor to dine out. Yin questioned if you knew that Chang claimed instant noodles were the finest and most noble dish in the human world, surprising you, who considered them delicious and a regular part of your monthly diet. Chang sweated as you mentioned Chang's view that instant noodles weren't meant for daily consumption. Disgusted, you labeled Chang as the worst scoundrel you've encountered. Chang attempted to deny this, stating your love for instant noodles forced him to buy them. Yin then inquired about who managed your living expenses, and you disclosed it was Chen due to your lack of familiarity with human world norms. Realizing Chang had been siphoning your funds for games and figures, Yin urged you to verify through bank transactions. Chang attempted to silence Yin's accusation, claiming borrowing the money with intentions to repay. Yin exposed Chang's deceit, describing Chang as a fundamentally corrupt demon, offering you a relationship for financial security. Perplexed, you pondered if all demons shared this open-mindedness. Sensing the temptation in Yin's offer, Chang realized accepting it would lead to losing his financial support, potentially facing homelessness and starvation. In desperation, he declared his ownership of you, claiming you as his wife and confessing an inability to live without you. You were confused, urging Chang to release you. Chang insisted that you stay silent, adamantly declaring that he wouldn't let anyone take you away. Though Yin observed Chen holding you, he refused to relent. Determinedly, Yin grasped your hand and tried to pull you towards him. Caught between the two demons, you pleaded for them to stop, feeling perplexed as if you were stuck in a romantic comedy. Yin urged Chen to release you and go live with his wife, but Chang retorted that even if he lived elsewhere, he wouldn't allow Chen to have you. He questioned Chen's fixation on you, labeling you a brainless, boobless idiot. Annoyed by Chang's remarks, Yin confronted him about his preference for larger breasts. Chang admitted to his preference, appreciating their appearance. However, Yin argued that big breasts held no merit, causing discomfort and pain. Yin went on to extol the virtues of smaller chests, categorizing them into various groups: late bloomers, those with unchanging body shapes, and those who became slender due to health issues. He highlighted the rarity of exceptional women who develop in all areas except their chests. Meanwhile, you seethed with anger at the conversation. As the argument continued about stealing his wife, you, unable to contain your frustration, slammed their heads together before storming off. Subsequently, the supervisor, concerned about your prolonged absence despite her texts, noticed your proximity and leaned on you. Finding comfort in your presence, Chang observed you and noticed that even a day after the incident with Yin, she remained silent, responding only with fierce glares whenever he attempted to converse. Checking the fridge, Chen furiously inquired about his ice cream, then asked for the remote she had been using since morning, receiving no response. Frustrated, Chen resigned himself to let her sulk, considering women to be quite a handful. Hours later, he prepared some sweets for you, hoping the gesture would earn her forgiveness. However, with astonishing speed, she devoured them all, leaving bite marks all over Chang's hand when he tried to intervene. Although his initial plan didn't work, he devised a plan B, presenting her with a new game. He claimed it was exceedingly challenging, thinking it might distract her and lighten her mood. To his surprise, she completed the game in just 1 minute, setting new records. This prompted Chang to move on to Plan C, offering her a spinner toy, anticipating that she would request one for herself. Displaying his spins, he expected it to resolve matters quickly. However, you demanded he play elsewhere, annoyed by the obstruction of the TV. Agitated, Chang questioned what she wanted, explaining he was trying to alleviate the tension because the ring could assign tasks at any moment, and it wouldn't be pleasant to be in a bad mood. To this, you retorted that if that was the case, he should join her in her misery, and began to remove the ring, leaving Chang stunned. Chang urged her to halt, sensing she was going too far. Realizing that you was resolute, he had no choice but to admit his mistake, expressing his readiness to accept any punishment she deemed appropriate. When you looked at him and asked if he truly understood the weight of the punishment, requesting him to acknowledge his error and promise not to repeat it, Chang, reluctantly but earnestly, apologized and vowed not to repeat the mistake. But you insisted he say it louder, and despite his discomfort, Chang raised his voice, admitting fault and apologizing. Now that Yu's anger subsided, she confronted Chang, stating that he was using her to secure the allowance for his stay in the human world. Chang admitted that while there was truth in her words, there was more to his feelings. He confessed feeling vexed upon seeing her with Yin but cautioned her not to misinterpret it. Yu countered, explaining that the confession from Yin had caught her off guard, mentioning how cute Yin appeared as a girl, generating butterflies within her. Chang thought to himself that, according to him, Yu was even cuter, but it dawned on him too late as Yu overheard his words, teasing him in response. Chen chided Yu, calling her a useless angel, but her teasing and forgiveness left her in a cheerful mood. She warned Chang that there should be no repeat of such incidents and questioned how much money he had pocketed over time. The following day, Yin pondered his existence and the curse that transformed him into a woman every evening, seeking a way to lift the curse. He had ventured alone into the human world, ensuring no one discovered his transformations. The challenge lay in finding a suitable place for this change, often struggling to locate a secluded spot, usually resorting to toilets for this purpose. The individual Yin transforms into is undeniably attractive, perhaps due to an inherent succubus-like allure, yet their cursed existence consistently lands them in trouble. Whether on a bus or during part-time jobs, Yin faces challenges regularly. The most distressing aspect of the curse is that losing virginity while in the female form would permanently trap them in that state, a nightmare they've endured indefinitely. Driven by a desperate desire to rid themselves of this curse, Yin overheard rumors of an angel notorious for their cruelty towards demons. In a misguided attempt to retaliate, Yin intruded into the angel's territory, intending to inflict torment. However, the plan backfired miserably, reducing Yin to tears. Suddenly, the supervisor appeared, fixating on Yin's physical features, particularly their chest. Despite Yin's apprehension, they found themselves powerless against the supervisor's commands. A simultaneous scene unfolded with Yu in a toy shop. Delighting in squeezing a favored toy, the supervisor conducted experiments, realizing that Yin's mass remains consistent despite transformation, redistributing to other areas of their body. Exhausted after hours of examination, Yin questioned the supervisor's motives, accusing her of treating them like a mere plaything. Yin confronted the supervisor, questioning her about the acceptance of Yu marrying a demon despite Angel's animosity toward demons. Surprisingly, the supervisor dismissed the angel-demon divide, claiming an open-minded view on love. The following day, Chen pondered deeply, feeling a sense of déjà vu. He confided in Yin, expressing concern about Yu's change in behavior. Chen revealed the peculiar function of the ring they both wore, converting animosity into arousal when one attempts to strike their partner. Chang recounted instances where he playfully exploited this function to provoke Yu, yet recently, when he stole her ice cream, expecting her usual reaction, she surprised him by casually sharing it and promising to get more. While searching for the TV remote, he warned her that she wouldn't be allowed to watch anything. However, to his surprise, she grabbed the remote from his grasp, suggesting they watch together. Despite his attempts to provoke her, she showed no signs of anger. Yin confronted Chen, questioning why he desired her anger. Chang defended himself, claiming it was for his amusement, justifying his actions as a demon finding pleasure in others' pain. Though Yin initially denied it, Chang's explanation resonated with him. Chang further commented on her unusual behavior that morning. As she prepared to meet her friends, she adjusted his hair and smiled, leaving Chang speechless. He observed a shift in her demeanor, from once being wild and aggressive to now radiating a calm, docile aura. Yin found this behavior perplexing and suspected Yu might have feelings for Chen. Yin was taken aback by this realization, considering Chang oblivious for not recognizing Yu's interest. He grappled with jealousy, longing for a similar development in his life, lamenting his daily torment by someone he considered an irritating sadist. However, a sudden thought comforted him. Chang's perceived loser status might not be entirely negative. Yin confronted Chang about Yu's potential interest, considering it a trap. Chang's dismissal fueled Yin's belief that Yu was involved in a cruel form of emotional torture. While at home, Chang appeared outwardly deceived, but in reality, he was suspicious of wise words, having a strong tendency not to trust anyone. Nonetheless, he decided to employ a method to uncover the truth. Known for his psychological prowess and verbal traps, Chang approached Y under the guise of offering her black tea. However, he subtly probed her thoughts by asking what she thought of him. Y initially joked about it being gross, and Chang purposely phrased his question awkwardly to mislead her into thinking he was an inept conversationalist. Yu then playfully teased Chang, describing him as an otaku who adores hugging dakimakuras and teasingly suggesting he pilfers money from his family. Chang, irked by the accusations, questioned her intentions, but Y clarified that despite these quirks, she found him to have good qualities and easy to get along with. She then prompted Chang to share his feelings, suggesting it was only fair. Capitalizing on the moment, Chang asked Y if she liked him, intending to gauge her reaction. In a moment of excitement, he accidentally confessed his own feelings, feeling as if his soul had departed his body. Chang attempted to recover, believing he had lost some points but wagered Y had lost more. However, her unexpected reaction signaled a significant misstep. Witnessing Y's intense reaction, Chang realized he had made a grave error. Y seemed to withdraw, claiming she needed to contact the supervisor due to her confusion. Concerned, Chang implored her to stop and grabbed her hand, but her sudden recoil made him realize his mistake. Attempting to lighten the mood, he laughed, claiming to have uncovered her feelings for him with his experiment. In the end, Y heard his declaration that he didn't have feelings for her, contradicting his earlier slip of the tongue. Chang's attempt to salvage the situation by claiming it was all part of a joke only added to the confusion between them, then sternly warns her to stop making such lowbrow jokes, asserting that any reasonable person would react similarly. She emphatically denies the possibility of falling for a foolish demon, blaming his foolish actions for his unpopularity. Enraged, Chang headbutts her, demanding she cease insulting him. Y retaliates with a strike of her own, calling him an idiot. Their tussle ends with both collapsing to the ground, contemplating the absurdity of their fight and their own foolishness. Y feels the day has taken a turn for the worse due to Chang's nonsensical behavior. As Y rises, her leg accidentally nudges the table, threatening to topple Chang's action figure. Quick to react, Chang lunges to save the figurine, inadvertently getting closer to Y while she asks him to move away. Their proximity leads to an accidental encounter. Despite apologizing for the unintentional closeness, the ring unexpectedly demands a kiss, announcing it as an assignment. An infuriated Chang questions the sudden demand, but the ring insists, leaving him with no option but to comply. Y, acknowledging the assignment, advises him to hurry before she loses control. With conflicted thoughts, Chang moves closer, rationalizing the act as a mere contact of membranes. However, he finds himself affected by the moment, unable to resist the allure. As they eventually share a brief kiss, Y teases him for being hesitant. The ring declares the task complete, but Chang clarifies they only complied due to the assignment, claiming the impossibility of any relationship between a demon and an angel. Both, now in their respective rooms, reflect on the embarrassing incident, regretting their actions. However, the ring announces their graduation from the assignment's difficulty level, signaling its completion. The following day, Yin encounters a chaotic scene in the supervisor's office, prompting him to suspect her secrecy. Desiring to unearth her weaknesses, he contemplates removing her glasses, suspecting something hidden behind them. He cautiously refrains, opting to clean the room instead. Curiosity leads him to discover a box of peculiar items. When questioning the supervisor about her job, she reveals her role as a Cupid. She oversees angels and demons coexisting in the human realm, managing their registrations and transfers. Clarifying further, she explained that the rest of her primary duties aligned with nurturing connections, akin to a succubus. Confused, Yin inquired about the term supervisor, prompting her revelation that she's actually a Cupid, a common term for angels specializing in fostering romantic relationships. They use love arrows to instigate affection and establish love protection to ensure relationships progress smoothly. Yin speculated that Cupid might be a military rank among battle angels, but the supervisor corrected him, clarifying that it's a term for angels focused on love. Yin's disbelief led to him coughing blood, insisting that someone like her could never be a Cupid. He tearfully praised Cupids, popular even among demons for their kindness, charm, elegance, and aversion to violence. They extend compassion even to demons with differing beliefs, offering solace during tough times and guidance through trouble. The supervisor smiled, questioning if she wasn't gentle, caring, and endearing. Yin vehemently disagreed, claiming those were entirely unsuitable descriptions for her. Directing him to handle a specific box with care due to its valuable contents, Yin initially puzzled over the box's odd contents. Suddenly, comprehension struck him. He excitedly queried if the box contained Cupid's tools, confirmed by the supervisor. Rummaging through the box, Yin recognized an arrow, believing it sowed mutual affection between two hearts. However, the supervisor dismissed it, stating it merely stirs the target's passion. Perplexed, Yin's mind couldn't grasp her words. She then presented a rope, akin to a red binding cord of predestined love according to Yin, but she revealed it's used in BDSM, enhancing pleasure when used. Next, he inspected a spray, only for the supervisor to explain it induces heat. Lastly, a smartphone appeared, believed by Yin to hypnotize and command people. He silently criticized her in his mind, viewing all the tools as mere amusement for her. Contrarily, she acknowledged the necessity to adapt and introduced real guns and bullets, lamenting the decline in marriages and increased singlehood among people. Shocked, Yin inquired about the severity of the situation. However, she confessed to jesting. Then she recounted a story about an office worker and a student living together for months without significant progress, claiming Yin's involvement would be vital. She explained a Cupid brings a couple together while a succubus parts them, labeling them as the perfect team. commanding Yin to finish cleaning and prepare for an important task tonight. He protested, realizing her nefarious intentions. In a desperate attempt to escape, he collapsed, drained of strength. Gleefully, the supervisor revealed his weakened and sensitive state, a punishment for defying her orders. She toyed with him, warning that his disobedience would worsen his condition. Begging for mercy, Yin agreed to comply with her every request. The next day at school, a teacher assigned group work, requiring teams of at least 4. As classmates formed groups, Chen remained one member short, noticing Chang walking alone. As Chang walked away, someone grabbed his hand. As he turned, he recognized you. But before he could grasp the situation, you began pulling him along, leading him to a group of friends. You approached Chang, offering him a spot in the group for the assignment, but he adamantly refused, claiming he'd never join any group. Your friends tried to recall Chang, and suddenly, one girl remembered seeing him in a cafeteria with a girl they described as having a notable physique, mentioning how you had stood up to their harassment before leaving. As the group's conversation continued, Chang pondered an escape, anticipating the inevitable questions. Just as expected, one of the girls asked about their connection. You were on the brink of revealing that they lived together, yet Chang intervened, stating they reside in the same apartment block. Sensing the impending revelation, Chang discreetly whispered to you, preventing disclosure. The teacher announced that assignment topics would be chosen by lottery, instructing everyone to line up. While Chang pondered an escape plan, you grabbed his arm, urging him to engage more with others. Meanwhile, other team members discussed the difficulty of their allotted topics. Feeling overwhelmed, confidently, you boasted about pulling an easy topic from the draw. Simultaneously, the teacher approached Chen, surprising you. She expressed her loneliness due to his absence from class, which Chang dismissed as a joke. Perplexed, you wondered why the teacher was so familiar with Chang. Swiftly pulling him away, you urged him to check the assigned topic she drew, taunting him about having a friend with a close relationship. Confused by the teacher's insinuation, Chang clarified their connection, emphasizing she was just a teacher he attended classes with, nothing more. The teacher, understandingly, acknowledged their shared past and hinted at intimate memories they couldn't forget, which agitated Chang. He blamed her for certain unfavorable outcomes, snapping you out of your wandering thoughts. Chang reassured you, emphasizing the teacher's tendency to play with words, often causing misunderstanding. Meanwhile, your friends found the situation entertaining. Later, the teacher whispered to Chen about his girlfriend, prompting Chang to deny such a relationship, stating she merely motivates him. The teacher encouraged you to relax, allowing for a more informal address, hinting at her playful nature. In reality, the teacher was aware of your jealousy, finding it amusing. She teased you, highlighting Chang's academic setbacks and current third attempt. Shocked by Chang's apparent lack of intelligence, you internally acknowledged his struggles. Chang, irritated, demanded she stop speaking, adding that she was the last person he wanted to hear such comments from. Yan remarked on Chang's consistent failure in group projects, always being the first to leave or seek solitary work. He attempted to entice her with the Kamen Rider action figure, which she outright declined. This astonished Chang because, in his belief, no one could ever refuse such a figure. Unbeknownst to everyone, Chang was planning to hack into the school network to change his failing grade to a passing one. He noticed you laughing and shouted at her to stop, blaming her for disrupting his perfect plan. Yan intervened, urging them to focus and asked about their assigned topic. Excitedly anticipating their topic, you eagerly asked Chang to open the slip. However, upon opening it, confusion struck him as it revealed a game as their topic. Your friends inquired about the topic's requirements, to which Yan replied that despite its apparent simplicity, it was challenging and required more than 4 members. She swiftly recruited 2 additional students for Chang's group, teasing him for teaming up after being a lone wolf for so long. Another teacher arrived, asking Lan if she was ready for lunch, prompting her to assign homework and leave. The boys with you marveled at how effortlessly she received an easy topic, jokingly planning to relax with their extra time. They decided on dividing the work among themselves and left. Your friends expressed frustration at their unilateral decision-making, discussing this with you while creating a chat group. Chen approached, asking to be added to the group, concerned due to her scatterbrained tendencies. They encouraged her to reach out if she encountered any problems and departed. Once they left, you approached Chang, noticing his odd behavior. While usually displaying a bad attitude during such situations, he remained unusually quiet. Chang assumed you were increasingly picking on him lately, feeling more and more harassed by your actions. Attempting to leave, you grabbed him from behind, but then dismissed it, allowing him to go. Later, when everyone else left, he remained alone. Unbeknownst to you, Chang stood behind the doors, observing. 2 boys approached you, inviting her to their group, but Chang intervened, handing you papers and dragging her away, confusing the boys. Outside, Chen re-entered the classroom, concerned she might do something foolish. He believed she'd eventually seek his help. You whispered to Chen, promising not to cause any trouble and asked to collaborate. Chang, dismissive, told her to do as she pleased, making her extremely happy. As they walked, you inquired about the papers, and Chang explained they were survey forms he created when he left her in class. They intended to gather responses from the bustling neighborhood, aiming to conduct a survey. They distributed the forms, and soon a crowd amassed around you, eager to participate. Shocked by your sociability, Chen marveled at how quickly she engaged people and even received snacks. Chang wondered if she possessed superpowers, amazed at her efficiency. Later, after taking a bath, you informed Chen of the now available free bath, to which Chang said he'd use it later. Amazed at the variety of forms they gathered, you burst into laughter. Chen watched her, realizing she was truly an angel all along. At first, he regarded her as a hindrance, but now he considered the real fool might have been him all along. Suddenly, she approached him, inquiring why he was staring. Chang claimed he was lost in thought, then checked his phone, realizing everyone had already decided what to do. He got excited, wondering why he hadn't informed her earlier. Chang pointed out that she should have received notifications from the group chat. However, she explained her phone had died without being charged after her shower. Chang explained they needed to create a game that wasn't overly complex, perhaps a tabletop game. You hurriedly fetched a game given by the supervisor, suggesting they try it out. However, Chang declined, mistrusting anything associated with the supervisor. The game's ring suddenly indicated they had to play it together, hinting at something ominous. Despite Chang's reluctance, you encouraged him to stay positive and agreed to play. While unwrapping the game, you halted midway, surprising Chang. She found a box labeled Truth or Dare orders for lovers and discovered a lie detector inside. Chang accidentally damaged it, claiming it was a slip of his hand and foot. He inwardly sighed in relief, relieved he had avoided a classic trap. Despite you crying over the lost game device, Chang comforted her, insisting it was for her own good. All that remained were the Truth and Dare cards. Chang cautioned you against starting the timer until he checked the cards' backs. However, she had already begun the timer, determined not to let him spoil her gaming experience again. Depressed, Chang pondered his options, then asked if she'd played Truth or Dare before. When she admitted she hadn't, she assured him she was a quick learner and urged him to go first, showing her the ropes. Explaining the game mechanics, Chang instructed that a card must be drawn and the task carried out. You, thrilled, anticipated the fun, while Chang silently wished for divine intervention. Despite his inner turmoil, he chose to demonstrate the game. Yet, as he touched the card, he claimed it was his turn, invoking his inner duelist spirit. However, upon seeing the card's content, he ripped it up, declaring it a mere demonstration and urged her to start. Confused but determined, you picked a card, initiating the real game. She mimicked Chang's style and declared it was her turn, finding the ritual amusing. Curious about her card, she was shocked to read that it instructed them to play a make-believe baby game in a park behind the woods. Disgusted, she tore the card into pieces. Sitting in silence, they both absorbed the situation. Recognizing her mistake, she apologized to Chang for starting the timer. Suddenly, the ring warned of a punishment if they continued to destroy the game cards and props. Unable to avoid the situation, Chen reluctantly agreed to play and picked a card. The card he drew instructed them to hug for 3 minutes. You blushed upon reading it, slowly opening her arms and suggesting that Chang hug her. Chen hesitated, emphasizing that it was merely a game and their choice to comply. They tried to brush it off, but then heard laughter from the ring, terrifying Chen. In response, he hugged you, who was flustered and demanded an explanation. Chang explained that the ring had gained a new function after leveling up, causing him to lose control. He assured her it would be over in 3 minutes. During the hug, Chang found it hard to resist Yu's slender and soft form. Despite struggling, he endured until the timer announced the end of the round. Relieved, Chang regained control, but then realized Yu was gripping his t-shirt tightly. As she pushed him away, he regained his senses. It was now Yu's turn. She drew a card that required her opponent to express what they liked about her. Chen initially dismissed it, but the ring took control, and he confessed that despite teasing her about her figure, he didn't really care whether she was flat or not. He then expressed a liking for legs, particularly hers, describing them as his ideal type, neither too long nor too short, just perfect. He detailed his appreciation for different types of legs, especially loving hers in black tights. Regaining control, he tried to blame the ring for his confession, but you looked at him in disgust, demanding he stay away as she covered her legs. Chen attempted to clarify but was met with accusations of being a pervert. He cursed the ring, realizing its influence, but decided to continue. With a smile, he drew a card that prompted his opponent to reveal his secret. He approached you and asked if she'd ever entertained any improper thoughts about him, regretting the question instantly. However, to his surprise, you confessed that she found his collarbone beautiful, especially when he focused on his studies, and sometimes she had the urge to kiss it when he emerged fresh from a bath. Shen was taken aback, struggling to believe Yu's thoughts. As Yu tried to explain that the ring was responsible, Chang refused to listen, branding her a pervert and insisting she stay away. Frustrated, Yu muttered about wanting to disappear, but Chang laughed, claiming it served her right since she'd made similar confessions. Angered by his attitude, Yu picked a card, determined to extract embarrassing secrets from Chang. As the game progressed, cards like name the most sensitive spot, embrace each other for 3 minutes, and tell your most embarrassing secret littered the floor, leaving Chang and Yu exhausted. Chen cautioned against regretting continuing and picked a card. While Yu suggested he could admit defeat rather than forcing himself, Chang's card instructed him to cave in, and he did so effortlessly. They engaged in various challenges like the Pocky game in different poses, tying and most. Finally, they returned to the main game once more. The first task was to gently touch your opponent's face for a minute. Initially, you felt shy, but upon noticing Chang's trembling hand, she teased him, making fun of the situation. The following task involved SM bandage play, which required you to bind Chang in ropes, but there was no completion signal. Realizing the nature of the task, you understood that she needed to step on him. After Chang's guidance, she applied more force, and finally, the round ended, although Chang endured some pain in the process. Chang declared it was his final turn and drew a card that allowed him to order you to do anything. Initially considering retaliating, he opted to ask her a random question to conclude the game. He casually inquired about her fondness for hoodies and hip-hop fashion, thinking it harmless. Unexpectedly, Yu's response highlighted her preference for loose clothing to mask her smaller chest, leading to an awkward silence. Chang couldn't contain his laughter, which upset Yu, resulting in her hitting him. Meanwhile, the ring announced the completion of their assignment. Shen, trying to intervene, accidentally placed his hand on Yu's chest. The ring detected aggressive behavior, escalating the tension. Afterward, they sat in silence, and Chang mentioned checking the report, signaling it seemed fine. Yu expressed feeling tired and decided to sleep. Later, Yin and the supervisor were in a remote area discussing a mission involving a gang leader harassing couples. Yin's charm ability was discussed, but the supervisor's plan of using his charm on the gang leader was met with skepticism. Yin clarified his ability didn't work that way and explained its limitations. The supervisor was disappointed, revealing her displeasure and referring to him as a virgin trash cubist. This led to a heated argument, with Yin refusing to fall for her plan. As Yin faced off against the gang leader, the supervisor pressured him to seduce the leader, but Yin adamantly refused, clarifying the limitations of his abilities. He explained to the supervisor that conventional methods wouldn't work on someone like the gang leader. The supervisor promptly displayed all the tools she carried, and Yin requested a chest compression bandage and a face mask. Confident in his ability to handle any man, he left with these items, stating his prowess as a succubus who could sway even the preferences of a gay man. As the gang leader charged towards Yin, the latter realized the leader's movements were too slow. Having studied self-defense techniques after transforming into a woman to protect himself, Yin, despite lacking the physical strength of a man, could handle several attackers. He anticipated that defeating the leader would bring the minions in line. During the scuffle, Yin found themselves cornered by the leader, who removed Yin's mask, revealing Yin's female identity. Surprised, the leader was taken aback but remained indifferent, stating they'd attack regardless of Yin's gender. The leader, attempting to land a blow, stopped upon gazing at Yin's face, feeling an unexpected sentiment. The minions urged the leader on, but the leader hesitated, intrigued by Yin's unflinching stare. Yin, realizing this impact, subtly tried to escape. The leader, while trying to hold Yin, accidentally ripped the bandage, causing a brief, surprising interaction that derailed the leader's focus momentarily. After this incident, the leader found Yin's actions and words disarming and unexpected, which confused and intrigued them. Despite threats from the minions, they were puzzled by Yin's fearless demeanor, leading to a surprising conversation where Yin shared a playful preference for formidable-looking men. Yin answered that there are a great deal of folks more vulnerable than him. When he overcomes them, they all say that they were simply holding back because he's a young lady. So, he dressed like a person to prevent washouts from utilizing this weak reason. The pioneer sneered, maddening Yin, who advised him to stop snickering and finish their battle. Yet, the pioneer grinned and claimed it's her success, as he wasn't in the frame of mind for battling. Yin, shocked, said all right and mumbled that he got him off guard. He was going all as per Yin's arrangement. He shared with the pioneer that even after finding out he's a young lady, he didn't treat him any differently. Then, he acted charming and thanked the pioneer, expressing that it made him blissful. This marked the third successful assault on the pioneer's heart. He then turned away and attempted to leave, yet was intercepted by the pioneer who asked him to disclose her name prior to leaving. However, Ian recently grinned and said he's not going to tell it to him unless he can beat him in the future. With that, he left, marking the last effective assault, enchanting the pioneer as Ian left with a grin, seemingly saying "got you." Upon returning, he was gloating about his magnificent presentation to the manager, who agreed with him, saying it was so cool. She mentioned that when the pioneer snatched him, she felt that it's finished, to which Ian snickered, confessing it was all a demonstration. He named this stunt Counterfeit Give Up, where each move was determined and strictly as per his plan. The manager, impressed, asked how he knew the pioneer's preferences. Ian grinned, saying that nobody understands a person's heart better than another person. Though she acknowledged it was great, she reminded him that he is a fellow. She questioned why he was so happy to capture the heart of another person. Upon hearing that, Ian lost his grin, falling to his knees. He admitted she was correct and questioned why he went the distance and passed a view as a key to the core of a person. Suddenly, the boss put her hand on him and told him to encourage as he did great. She said both his appearance and ability were first rate. When he assumed a role of a young lady, his acting was flawless. She then suggested, why doesn't he simply stay as a young lady, as he is substantially more alluring when he's a young lady? Ian advised her to calm down. She then, teasingly, said she was serious because everyone wants to see adorable young ladies. She murmured in his ear that, most importantly, she is a lesbian. Scared, Ian jumped back and covered his chest. But the boss laughed and said she is just kidding. She then asked him to go with her as she will get him something good today. Eventually, she gave him a juice can and got herself a cola, saying a can of cola after work is the best. Confused, Ian asked why she gave him juice instead of cola. She then ordered 2 dishes of yum noodles and requested that one be less hot without coriander. She gave him the dish and said it's made from yam and it's delicious. Ian accepted and thanked her. However, a thought entered his mind, and the manager asked him to hurry up or it will get cold. Incredibly, Ian asked her how she knew that he couldn't stand spicy food, and why did she give him juice even though she bought soda for herself. This surprised the boss. She froze in her place after he asked how she knew that he can't stand spicy food and carbonated drinks. She tried to trick him and said she gave him her cola by mistake. Ian advised her to stop lying since the stall owner obviously knows her, and she personally said that it's a can of cola after work is the best. He said he couldn't stand hot food and carbonated drinks since he was a child, and he never tells this to anybody but to the individual who cursed him. He added that the fact that she knew made him think it's abnormal since they met, not to mention about the curse. He then indignantly asked her who in the world is she and how does she know so much about him. However, she twisted his hand and said don't mistake attention for weakness, as she never allowed him to talk to her like that. Ian said she is always like this, trying to weasel out by changing the subject, but he's not scared of her. The boss then released his arm and said he is correct. She said she knows the angel that cursed him and she has had some awareness of him for quite a while, as that angel is the one who told her about everything about him. She added that she got impressed by him and his ability. That's why she fooled him into coming here. Ian then grabbed her shoulder and mumbled he knew it, that she could know something. He then asked her to tell him about her location and promised that after he deals with her, he will assist the manager with anything she needs. She looked at Ian's face and asked if he met that angel by any chance. Then how's he going to treat her? Ian was going to offer something but then stopped himself and said he will just ask her to fix his damn curse. He laughed and said the only thing he wants is to have his once normal life back, and that's why he came here in any case. However, the boss said that unfortunately she doesn't know her whereabouts as they have not been in touch for some time now. She added it's not like she can't help him, but it will depend on his execution. She said if he truly works hard, then when she hears anything about her, she might consider letting him know. This made Ian happy, and he vowed to work 2 times as hard from here onward. As they were leaving, she advised Ian to admit that he had some awareness of her knowing something, so he tried to seek information from the beginning, to which he agreed. She then asked wouldn't they make her his primary suspect, but Ian declined and said he can't be such an unfortunate judge of character, because unlike others, his intuition is his areas of strength. He said even if he didn't see that angel and that boss's characters are very different, he could see the angel in a crowd initially. As Ian was bragging about his intuition and that he ruled her out at the very beginning, the boss praised him for that. She said his friends were waiting for themselves and Chang outside a cafe. Eventually, they reached the location and Yu apologized for being late. Her friends were stunned to see the work and asked if she is the one who did all that. They said it's so detailed that with this, they will certainly get an excellent grade. Surprisingly, Yu told them that Chang helped her, and this pole is his work. Her friends praised Chang and said they knew it because there's no way that you could have done really perfect work all by herself. They then apologized to Chang for discussing him behind his back. He was glad to see Chang and her friends talking. Abruptly, one of her friends murmured that she won't ever expect her to collaborate with a person behind their back. Yu immediately changed the topic, figuring she would never tell her that she is living with Chang, since then she will get one more earful from Chang. Her friends then discussed the other 2 people, as they are not there to review and discuss their reports. Suddenly, Chang saw the folks arriving who apologized for being late. They said they got involved with something and nearly forgot the meeting. One girl then scolded them for not taking the task seriously and told them to be a little more responsible. However, they told her to not worry, as they have proactively finished the reports. They put the reports on the table and said they got an appointment with a friend and tried to leave. Infuriated, the girl tried to stop them, but before she could say anything, Chang smacked them with their reports and told them to take their waste with them before leaving. The folks returned and asked if he is searching for a fight. One guy said they finished their reports on time, so what is his concern? One of the girls tried to stop the fight, but the guy told her to calm down and said Chang is the one who's starting trouble for no reason. Chang said he was just trying to save them face, which further infuriated the guy. But then he showed the report and said the font, text size, and formatting of their report are completely wrong. Second, the subject was about the game. Why are theirs filled with absolutely irrelevant stuff? Third, you don't care from which crappy site they copied this from, but they should have at least removed the watermarks. Terrified, the folks realized that Chang knows it all. Chang added he couldn't care less about how anybody does their stuff, but this time it's a group task, so the entire group should face serious consequences regarding it. And since he's in the same situation with them, he won't sink because of their mistake. The folks attempted to dismiss it and said that the instructor won't concentrate on it under a magnifying instrument, so she will acknowledge anything, however long it looks like it. Chang said he realized this would occur, so he currently made arrangements. He took out the reports from his pack and said he did everybody's part for them, which stunned them, confounded. You pondered when Chang did all that, and for what reason didn't she notice it before? She then understood that he did all of that when he said that he had a business to deal with. The young ladies were stunned and astounded by Chang. He said that he was prepared for the most pessimistic scenario situation, so he set one up for all the young ladies. Thought the reports are staggering, and it was far superior to the ones they made. He then insults the other two that, as opposed to presenting their garbage, they ought to go with the report he made for them. This made the person significantly more irate, and he snatched Chang's collar, inquiring as to why he is acting so high and strong. Chang answered that he's simply giving the most effective arrangement. Before the situation could leave hand, you hindered and halted their fight. She believed that one moment prior all was great, so for what reason did it need to arrive at this? Chang said he doesn't care any longer and they can do anything they desire and leave the place. The person attempted to go after him from behind, yet you kicked him on the face. She said she's weary of their objections and advises them to run away from there. She then tells her companions to hold the post for her while she will bring Chang back. She then went to find Chang, thinking where could he at any point head outside. Chang bought a soft drink for himself when he heard you calling for him. He looked at her and said she made him amazed by not getting lost. You advised him to go back with her, to which Chang immediately rejected. However, Chang answered he doesn't mind. She got his coat to stop him, but Chen pushed her hand away. He said she is such a torment since he already tells her that he won't go. He murmured and mumbled this is why he hates group exercises. You agreed that this time there are individuals who screwed up, but there were also those who accepted their job seriously. Chang angrily yelled he lacks freedom and energy to stress over how others do their work. All he wants is to be finished with this exhausting task. He said if others can't keep up the speed, it simply says about their inadequacy, and tells her to quit hauling him into this wreck. You attempted to calm him down and said she just trusted that he also could partake in his campus life in the human world. But Chang tells her to quit pushing her values onto others, and she has forever been like this. She never thinks about his feelings. You were standing quietly while Chen continued to slam out. He added she just loves to play friends with everybody. That is precisely why people make use of her. But you said he's wrong regarding this. Chen agreed that today didn't go exactly as he thought it would. But that didn't change the lesson of the story, that you can't depend on any of those individuals. He mumbled he doesn't indeed trust others this much. She said to make friends, you want to slowly trust one another and then build relationships based on this trust. However, Chang began laughing and said did she just say trust? He said this supposed trust is the most unreliable thing in this world. The only thing trust is really good for is bringing down your defenses and letting other people exploit you. He yelled that depending on other people to work on something for you is a straight pass to an early grave. He said in the world, the individual most worthy of your trust is yourself because that is the only person who won't ever deceive you. He added it's a lot more straightforward to live all alone. If you don't know how to achieve something, then go and learn it. It will require a bit more time, but since you can do it on your own, why bother asking others? He said blindly believing others will only bring about more betrayal. So, if you want to live a good life, then don't trust anyone. That is the most effective way. Disappointed, you yelled not like that. His line of thinking is misleading. She yelled that no matter what she won't ever betray him, but Cheng said she may and she will. But she denied it, angered. Cheng said okay, she will surely. Making empty promises is easy, but it is a whole other story to keep them entire. He tells her to imagine what is going on where she needs to pick either keeping and breaking the commitment. And keeping it would be hindering for her, then she would certainly betray him at the first opportunity. He grabbed her hand and said they have been tied by this damn ring, and notwithstanding this stupid ring, he would have quit a long time ago. But unexpectedly, he checked out your crying face and halted himself. He ground his teeth, released her hand, and left. After Cheng left, you thought all this time she has been getting help from him and she never saw when she begun to really want to help him with something. She believed that she has already got to know him pretty well, but truly she doesn't know anything about him at all. At the same time, the boss has secretly observed this and mumbled, these several fakers, they are such an obvious irritation. The next day you awakened and said she slept too much. She really looked at the time and thanked God that it's the end of the week. She was so hungry because it is already noon. She slowly opened the door to search for Chang and realized he didn't return home. She then searched in the kitchen thinking he left her some food. But after checking, she called herself a fool since she expected him to leave her some food after that fight they had yesterday. She then decides to eat first and then contemplate anything later. She has prepared, looked at her keys, mobile phone, wallet, and leaves as everything was wonderful. At some point, she was eating burgers, saying they are so good. And after eating 3 bags full of them, she was lying on the ground. After a while, she decides to return. When she saw a few people razzing a little girl, the young girl before them was crying and begging them to leave her. The folks were reproving her. You stopped them and said there is no need to go this far on a youngster, enraging the folks. They warned her to take off or she will be in trouble too. You sighed, and after a minute, the folks were all taking off, yelling they will remember her face. The young girl then thanked you and said she was amazing as she independently took out the whole gang. You took a look at the girl and thought her hair color and her eyes' pupils reminded her of someone. The little girl then offered some candies which made you invigorated. They both then enjoyed the candies and you thought this girl is so special. She asked the girl if she has seen a bag on her and asked is he going out on a trip. The young girl answered her relative lives around here, so she came for these holidays. She said it's been a long time since she has been here so she could have lost her way. And even her phone ran out of battery. You told her to not stress and said she will help her look for it as she is intimately acquainted with this area. The young girl smiled and thanked you for aiding her. So you thought she is such a good kid. You looked at the photograph of the place the young girl was searching for and felt that the place looks familiar to her. She smiled, believing that it is proof that it's good to have this feeling somewhere nearby. She concluded all they need to do is look around the locale, which stunned the young girl a bit. But when you asked her the matter, the young girl said she just lost in thought. They both then went on their journey to track down the spot that was in the photograph. The young girl noted you looking everywhere, even in the dustbin, which gave her an unusual feeling. You were confused, thinking it's already been some time, so why hasn't she found the place yet? The young girl asked if she is lost by any chance. And you told her to not worry as she probably knows the area very well so everything is good to go. She told her to leave everything to her. After looking for some hours, the young girl happily said that this is the spot. You looked at the structure and realized just the way that inept she is, as it's her own home structure. As she was lost in thoughts, the young girl tells her to pick up the pace as the lift arrived. They entered the lift. And when the young girl pressed the button for the same floor where you live, your courage broken into pieces. The young girl then pointed at a door, saying this is the place of her relative. You were crying inside and yelled, but this is her place, confused. The young girl then realized something, enthusiastically telling you that she has been dying to meet her and introduced herself as Jaya. She said that she will make the most of her vacation at her big brother's place. Stunned, you mumbled and asked is she Chang's little sister. But before she could even finish, Yao interrupted and said she is his younger brother. It took some time for you to figure out what this young girl recently said. And when she got it, her eyes jumped out by the shock. She was sweating and told her to stop kidding as she trusts her words. She then looked at her carefully and said no matter what angle she looked from, her features are of a girl. But Yao lifted his skirt and told her to verify if she has any doubts. Stunned, you told her to stop as she trusts her words. She then invited the boy saying let's wait for his jiggy inside. Yao then thanked you and addressed her as Sao, which means sister-in-law. But you told him that she isn't used to be called like that, so let's stick to Jai for now. You then went to get some snacks and told him to feel comfortable. In the meantime, Yao was checking Chang's Out's collection. He then heard some noise of someone falling from the kitchen. And then you appeared with some pudding and a juice. She looked at Yao and warned him to not touch anything in this cupboard, then the consequences will be terrible. Yao answered that he loved wearing cute clothes and girls' clothes are so cute. He also mentioned that wearing the clothes is normal, which confused you. You wondered if it's really normal and second-guessed yourself if she is the odd one here. Suddenly, Yao sensed something and checked the door out, which confused you. Outside, Chang finally appeared and saw one more pair of shoes outside his door. He went inside to look and found you with a young girl who smiled after seeing him scared. Chang dropped the bag and muttered, "Why are you here?" But the next second he was on the floor and Yao was on top of him. Yao apologized to you, saying he actually wanted to play with her a bit more as her reactions are so funny. But then Yao looked at Chang and said, "Long time no see, younger brother." He asked if he is enjoying his newlywed life. Yao appeared in the human world, and as soon as she appeared, the boss called her. But she disconnected the call and put her phone on offline mode. The first thing she did after that was visit the new retail outlet, which has all the new collection of action figures. After some shopping, she decided to enjoy a little before going home. She murmured that she came specifically to explore that strange darling girl who is living there. With Chang, fortunately, she sensed a smell of a heavenly messenger. She took a gander at the girl, and it was a similar holy messenger young lady from the photograph. So, she chooses to have a good time. She was subtly following you and thought about how she figured out how to eat all that food. She then, at that point, heard you saying that she doesn't have a craving today, which stunned her. Yao then, at that point, saw some awful folks and had an arrangement. She then hit the folks for certain marbles, and when they looked behind to check, they saw her showing them the middle finger. Infuriated, they understood that this young lady did that intentionally and as per her plan while they were showing her an illustration. At present, Yao was looking Chang's figures assortment and said he assembled such countless fortunes in such a brief time frame. Simultaneously, Chang was shuddering and sitting quietly. While he was attempting to comprehend whether this young lady is a younger sibling or elder sibling, she returned to her faculties and saw Yao gathering Chang's games and figures, saying they are returning home with her. She then saw Chen thinking, when she goes near his stuff, he generally lashes out. So, for what reason is he not furious by any means? However, later, seeing Chang's face with blood coming out of his eyes and mouth, she got it. Everything became clear when Chang murmured to her. He cautioned her, saying that if she does, the outcomes will be alarming. You gestured and thought, Yao should be an extremely terrifying individual. She wasn't amazed by this, as Yao has been playing her like a violin one moment prior. So you choose to be cautious. As you were taking a gander at Yao's tail moving ever-changing, she had the inclination to snatch it. Suddenly, Yao moved toward her and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you seeing me like that?" Terrified, you considered how Yao appeared in front of her in a moment. And before she could react, Yao caught you by her tail. Yao took a gander at Yu's response and said, "This isn't your most memorable time." Suddenly, they heard the doorbell, and Yao gets irritated. She opened the entryway and tracked down Yin, who enthusiastically yelled that he brought some scrumptious snacks. He then looked at Yao and asked, "Who is this him?" Frightened, Chang and Yu then saw a living damnation before them. They could hear Yin shouting in torment. And following a moment, Yao tied him up and tossed him on the floor, saying this little one has demolished all her good times. Suddenly, she remembered something and requested Chang to bring the activity calculates that she advised him to purchase. After seeing the figures, she got blissful. However, her grin blurred as she gazed at Cheng, who had sorrowful eyes. But then she sent him flying with a punch. She furiously inquired as to whether the crate seemed to be octagon-shaped to him, and why would that be a knock on the box. Cheng apologized, saying it was so difficult to snatch, so he probably dropped the box by accident. She then asked him who he owes a gift of living in the human world to. Terrified, she asked who is the person who worked difficult to raise him and pay for his everyday costs and schooling consistently. To which Chen answered, "It's you." So she irately inquired. And Assault Cheng was saying sorry when he heard a smack solid. It was you who defended him from Ye's assault. She yelled and mentioned Yao to not dominate him. But then she thought, what on God's green earth is she doing? As she just lost her cool and got a move on, called her a simpleton, and said he cautioned her to not meddle. Before he could do anything, they heard Yao saying, "You truly are entertaining, darling young lady. What's more, you even considered being a tease right in front of her." Then she changes over her tail structure, to which Chang yelled and asked her not to utilize that thing. But Yao still begins going after them. They evaded her goes after, but then you choose to fight back. You then ran toward Yao and kicked her, but Yao easily blocked it. She said, although you know a few stunts, yet she actually has far to go. She then flew out of sight and utilized her tail to snatch Yu's leg. She then picked her in the sky, and you begged her to stop, as she was not wearing fitting garments for that. You were attempting to safeguard her dignity and advising Yao to put her down. However, Yao saw that you were wearing tights, so she snatched it and destroyed it. Chen watched the whole scene and saw that you were wearing pink clothing. He utilized her skirt to hide it and asked Yao to put her down. But Yao grinned and said, this is the response she was hanging tight for. She added that there is no real reason for concealing it now, as they all have previously seen it. Infuriated, you used her radiance to go after Yao and figured out how to free herself. When she jumped down, she took a gander at Cheng, who was pretending that he didn't see anything. As you were occupied, Yao went after her once more, and as you felt that this is the best end for her, the manager showed up and halted the assault, saying, it's enough. She asked Yao, didn't she simply go excessively far a few seconds ago? To which she answered. She said that she realizes that the manager was concealing her presence and watching the show stealthily. The boss then tells her that the primary thing she ought to do subsequent to showing up is report her. But Yao wouldn't do that. You then ask the manager if they know one another, to which she answered yes, as they used to cooperate, which stunned both you and Chang. As the boss was contending, they heard some peculiar voice. They glanced in the way of the sound and saw Ian looking at them with sorrowful eyes. The boss murmured, "So you were here," while Yao was thinking, "Who in the world is this?" Chang and you were thinking the same thing. That they completely neglected about him. The boss eliminated the tape from Ian's mouth and asked how did he end up there. Yao was confounded and asked who in the world is this vixen and how did she ended up here attached. The other two yelled that she is the one who tied him up. Yao went near to take a look and said, as she recalls, the person who came was a person. She then got his melons and gets astonished to see the genuine article. She then saw a collar on Yin's neck and expressed out loud. She said that she has one too and inquired as to whether that stinky Four Eyes put it on him. Suddenly, she realized something and said, "So you are that succubus that transforms into a young lady at night which this stinky Four Eyes requested that she investigate." But before she could uncover anything, the boss slapped her and said, "Small children shouldn't flap their gums, and when they do, they get spanky." Frightened, Ian was crying inside, thinking, what on earth is with these two? Ian looks intriguing and asks her to loan into her, but the manager denied. Yao then got Ian's hand and stated only for a week, but the boss declined and said not in any event, for a day. They both were pulling in this way and that. Yao guaranteed that she won't break him. However, the manager still declined. Foam emerged from Ian's mouth, and he asked why he is the person who generally gets injured. You tell them that Ian has previously dropped. So, Yao leaves him and said he is all yours. She said that she is feeling eager as she burned through loads of effort since this imbecilic heavenly messenger young lady hauled her over all the local. She then requested Chang to make something for her. Although Chang rejected it first, before her angry face, he immediately left. Yao then called him powerless, expressing even after coming to the human world, he is the same loser he has forever been. He even must be safeguarded by a young lady just presently and called him a shame. However, Chang didn't say a solitary word. She then grinned evilly and requested that you approach her just a tad. He was getting terrified, so Zio tells her to not be wary, as it's not like she attempted to kill her. She was simply playing. The boss advises Zio to quit startling you, to which she answered she could never, as she is the gentlest individual there is. Ian likewise gets cautioned, believing it's a scoop. Zio's previous then gets uncovered that once she was holding up in a line, getting baffled over the way that there were such a large number of individuals. She was saying that she is excessively worn out and if she had realized before that it would end up like this, she could never have worn her cosplay. Following a few hours, at long last, her turn came. But to her misfortune, the retailer tells her that they recently ran. Unavailable, she indignantly asked, how the damnation did it get sold out so quick? And mentioned that she sat tight for over 4 hours. So she wants the thing at any rate. She then, at that point, focuses at certain individuals, asking the retailer for what reason is he allowing them to purchase so much without a moment's delay. The retailer was getting frightened since he could sense her lethal atmosphere. The entire structure began to shake, so everybody looked behind, contemplating whether it's a tremor. Zio lost all her thinking and inquired as to whether they truly imagined that they can move away with this. She then annihilated the entire structure, yelling, "Burn in hellfire, you damn mongrels." Back at present, the boss was expressing, luckily, there are no setbacks, so they have had the option to cover it up by manufacturing the confirmation that the structure crashed due to the worker for hire. Indeed, even now, there is a standard of selling one restricted edition product per client. 10 minutes prior. You deny by saying that she isn't exactly keen on knowing Cheng's confidential, yet she is more inquisitive about her. The boss answered she ought to have said so sooner, as she can see a ton, and that is how Zio's secret got uncovered. The manager tells you after causing the episode this faker was prohibited from nonchalantly voyaging into the human world by the joint board of evil spirits and heavenly messengers, and while coming on unique occasions, she should be joined by an approved manager. Consistently while the manager and Zio were contending, Chang was tranquilly making food. As the two were battling, you asked which one of them is more grounded. Zio answered with a grin that there is no compelling reason to ask, as obviously she is more grounded. The boss concurred, saying that she is, without a doubt, more grounded, regardless of whether just barely. Zio gets blissful and tells her that even she can be decent now and again. However, the manager proceeded with that assuming they were to hold a genuine contest, she would have dominated the competition. Zio gets angry in the wake of hearing that and yelled she can hardly imagine how she called her decent and inquired as to whether she needs to go at it. However, the boss tells her to look behind as a young lady is cosplaying around there, which effectively tricks Zio. And afterward, the boss contacted her head, saying she lost. Zio furiously yelled that this doesn't consider she wasn't focusing and she needs a second chance. However, the boss answered, a misfortune is a misfortune, no cheating. The boss then lets everybody know that Zio is one of the most grounded individuals in the devil world, and that she is one of the contenders for turning into the evil spirit ruler. You and Ian both get excessively stunned. and Ian yelled in a frightened voice, a contender for the evil presence ruler. However, at that point, he heard them saying, so he was conscious. This time Ian thought he screwed up as he was excessively wrecked that he jumped straight up. He attempted to change the point and began lauding Zio, saying that the competitor for the evil presence ruler is definitely a very resilient individual. It's his most memorable time seeing one. She is simply great. However, Zio makes a disheartened face and inquired as to whether they truly think so. Both Yin and Yu get confused after seeing her reaction. And then, Zio said that the evil spirit lord isn't actually that extraordinary. The title just sounds cool in manga, and it's simply a mark of an individual who the legend holds resentment against while setting up their manipulating move. In reality, they need to deal with all the issues one goes through his day, signing an interminable stream of reports and holding vast gatherings, which stunned them. Zio added that one additionally needs to take a gander at the revolting essences of old uncovered geezers consistently who, for their data, doesn't do a thing. Overall, you don't get rewarded. You don't get any rewards, no extra time pay. All things considered, all you get is only a heap of work. Later, sometime, Chen showed up with the food and said now is the ideal time to eat. Subsequent to having supper, Chang was prepared to wash the dishes. Suddenly, he heard the boss saying, before preparing to tidy up, he is so persistent. And afterward she offered him some assistance. However, Chang tells her to not do anything as she will just disrupt the general flow. The boss then called Yin and Yu to come and help, but Chang halted her and consented to take her assistance while working. The manager commended Chang for his cooking and said that it's been a long time since she has eaten something so tasty. She proposes him to open a food slowdown before their school, yet Chang advises her to calm down. He then, at that point, inquired as to whether this was her conspiring too, to which she gets befuddled. Chang inquired as to whether she is the person who called his sister to come right, yet the manager advises him to get it himself. Chen gets irate, saying that he is definitely not a young child, as she is the one in particular who can pull such a trick. In the interim, Seo, Yin, and Yu were playing computer games. Even though Seo and Ian were in the same boat, you were easily dominating each match. After the game, Zyle praised you, saying that she didn't anticipate that she should be this great, and that she likes her. She then requested that she play a different game, and you couldn't say no to her. The boss then asked them what they were playing, as it's so vivacious. She taunted Zyle, saying that her little Yushan is very great as she just annihilated her completely. Zio flies off the handle and advises her to calm down, adding that it's been quite a while since she played the game, so she is simply corroded. The manager then moves Zio to a match among holy messengers and evil spirits, so she acknowledged it. Zio then tells Chang to bring 2 additional joysticks so they can have a match. While Chang was giving them the joysticks, the scene was looking something different. Starting around 4 lovely women were sitting in before him. Zio ridicules him, saying that he looks like the primary person from a group of concubines manga and that he is so bold. However, Yin tells her to exclude him in this harem as he is a kid. After some long stretches of playing, Ian said he is worn out and couldn't play any longer. The manager checked the time and said it's past the point of no return. She advises Zio that now is the right time to go. However, Zio declined right away, saying that she hasn't had her fill at this point. She then, at that point, got you and said she will lay down with this young lady this evening, which stunned you. The manager advises Zio to quit misbehaving as she actually has a lot of desk work to do on her. So be a decent young lady and come with her, yet Zio actually declined. The boss then lets you know that it can't be helped and requested Yu's viewpoint. Zio was looking at you with sorrowful eyes and imploring her to express yes to it. With no other decision left, Yu answered that she wouldn't fret prior to leaving. The manager advises Zio to be a decent young lady and not make a racket, to which Zio showed her the center finger while saying she knows. Ian gets blissful later, hearing that, and said then he is remaining over too. However, at that point, the boss pulled his ears and hauled him out with her. Zio wished her good night while tending to her as the stinky 4 eyes and that she needs to never see her. After some time, Chang was cleaning the house while Yu and Zio were sitting on the lounge chair. Zio was feeling that something is off base as the environment is excessively quiet. She then inquired as to whether both of them had a battle, and the 2 of them felt an unexpected chill according to their response. Zio figures that she is correct and said no big surprise she was having goosebumps this time. She then, at that point, advises Chang to get her some bubble tea as she has an unexpected desire. Chang was saying where could he at any point track down at this late, yet Zio constrained him out and told him to not come for an hour. Later, sending him out, Zio said that now is the ideal opportunity to continue on to the following scene. She took a gander at Yu and inquired as to whether she has heated up the shower, and she answered yes. Zio then, at that point, advises you to follow her in the shower and quit sitting like a sculpture. You were reluctant from the beginning. Yet Zio tells her to quit posing moronic inquiries and come with her inside. Both Sio and Yu eliminate their garments. You were gazing at Zio's body with a dubious look. Zio saw that and inquired as to whether she needs to affirm that, and begins eliminating her tights, yet you halted her on time. Out of nowhere, Zio remembered something and then, at that point, eliminated her horns. Seeing that, you gets too stunned and yelled, how might she take out her horns? And to utilize frustration, Zio tells her that they are just a frill. She said she wears them on her head like a hairband as they cover her presence. She added that she could change their shape. Just push on the button and ponder for 3 seconds. She showed you how it functions by evolving the horns into various shapes. Later, sometime while you were washing Zio's back, she said that it was all in all a shock that devils don't actually have horns. However, Zio tells her that obviously devils have horns. However, she is a unique case as she has a state of being that keeps her body from developing them out. You get befuddled and murmurs state of being. However, at that point, Zio advises her to hush up about the exhausting stuff while gradually moving her tail despite your good faith. Zio said, how about we switch? And afterward she utilized her tail to eliminate used towels. You took a few seconds to acknowledge what just occurred, and afterward, she snatched the towel, advising Zio to pause, and that she would be able to wash herself fine and dandy. Zio gets blissful, saying this is the response she was searching for, as she always wanted to encounter this sort of improvement. She was gradually moving her hands towards you, telling her to not be modest and let her see exactly how well her body has developed. Subsequent to washing her back, Zio and you both were in the bath. He was moving her head over and again following Zio's tail. Unexpectedly, she heard her inquiring as to whether she needs to contact it. In the wake of getting her consent, you gradually moved her hand and then snatched it. She gets blissful, saying, this delicateness, this versatility, it's so wonderful to the touch. You inquire as to whether she isn't apprehensive when others contact her tail. To which Zio answered for what reason would it be advisable for her? In actuality, it feels decent. Zio then lets you know that she recently mentioned as well, so might it at any point be that she has contacted another person's tail. She ridicules you, telling her it's a shock that underneath that innocent look, she is a particularly salacious lady, which confounded you a bit. Zio then, at that point, tells her that contacting other individuals' tail without assent is sexual provocation because the evil presence's tail would be able just be contacted during mating. You abruptly leave her tail, saying sorry and that she didn't have any acquaintance with it. However, Zio said that she was joking and her responses are so entertaining. However, at that point, Zio thought she has an inclination that something is absent. In any case, thought about the thing is that pursuing some time, Chang returned to peace before, as he was stressed over you. He checked the house and thought seems to not be anything terrible occurred there. He then, at that point, heard Zio saying, so her younger sibling is back, and Chang inquired as to for what reason is she wearing his garments. Zio answered she was so eager to come into the human world that she neglected to bring a difference in garments. She added, what a very gorgeous young lady wearing his shirt, doubtlessly it probably made his heart race. Chang was getting incensed subsequent to hearing that garbage. He then gave her the bubble tea, saying that he got it. Chang then inquired as to yourself and what happened to her. Zio said that the little holy messenger young lady got worn out, so she headed to sleep early. Out of nowhere, Chang saw that Zio didn't dry her hair subsequent to emerging from the shower. He admonishes her for that. However, Zio tells him that drying them takes perpetually close, and they feel great like that, so what's the issue? Zhu gets baffled, saying that she is very much like a youngster. And afterward, he opened the washroom's entryway. Inside he experienced you who was remaining without her garments. Subsequent to acknowledging what simply happened, Chang fell into despair.
She heard her ask if she wanted to touch it all of a sudden. You moved her hand carefully, asked for permission, and then took it. She smiles and remarks, this elasticity and softness are so nice to the touch. When you inquire as to Zio's fear of people touching her tail as well, she answers, why not? If she is, it feels good, on the contrary. Zio then informs you that she just discussed it, so maybe she has made contact with someone else's tail. She teases you, saying it's surprising because behind that innocent appearance, you are a bit taken aback by how lecherous she is. Zio then informs her that it is sexual harassment to touch someone else's tail without their permission, because mating is the only time the demon's tail may be touched. You abruptly stop chasing after her, apologizing and claiming she was unaware of it. But Zio remarked that she was joking, and her hilarious responses prove it. Zio then questioned, is there something missing? As she couldn't quite place it. That, after a while, Cheng came back a little early because he was concerned about you. After inspecting the home, he concluded that nothing sinister had occurred there. When he heard Zio explain that her younger brother had returned, Cheng questioned why she was wearing his attire. Zio retorted, she was so eager to enter the human world that she neglected to make a change of clothing. But a very attractive female wearing his shirt, she said, must have warmed his heart. Ethnicity. After hearing such bullshit, Cheng was becoming enraged. Then, claiming to have purchased it, he handed her the bubble tea. Cheng then inquired about you and her personal situation. Zio said that the little angel girl went to bed early since she was exhausted. Cheng became aware that Zio had not dried her hair after taking a bath. Zio chastises her for it, but explains that drying them takes a very long time and that in addition, they feel wonderful in that way. Then what's the issue? Saying that she acts like a child. You get irritated, and he opens the bathroom's door. He found you inside, standing in her undressed state. When Cheng realized what had transpired, he became hopeless. Zio heard him screaming the next second, pleading with you to stop pounding him and just allow him to clarify. You were assisting Zio with drying her hair after a while. She complimented you and said that she was surprised by how skilled she was at drying hair. You praised her and mentioned how messy she used to be and how poor at blow drying, and each time she needed to ask Cheng for assistance. Then Zio overheard you mention that she is so incompetent that nothing she does can be done correctly. She is impetuous, petty, and always getting herself into trouble. She usually creates trouble because she jumps into things without thinking through the consequences. Difficulty to others, and individuals like as her are disliked. When she received this ring and saw the absurdity of marriage, she felt it was sort of fantastic. Life is only getting begun. She was just thinking about how to get out of these restraints. But now that she's about it, she could have struck it lucky. For before she realized it, she was leading a contented and joyful life. She first only wanted to leave this arrangement, as you said, which is weird. She didn't give a damn about what he thought of her, but she's starting to change her mind. Zio suddenly started laughing and said that her speech was just how it was in the book. She stated she thought it was serious and thanked you for making her laugh. Then Zio encourages her to hold off and make her own estimate. Then, pretending to be Chen, she uttered the exact same things as him, claiming that she can't really. She can only trust herself, thus she shouldn't put her confidence in anybody else. Living alone is simpler since she is a trustworthy person. Zio then inquires as to whether Cheng said something similar and you believed it to be precisely identical. Zio urges you not to take it personally since it's not her fault. That's simply how Cheng is. She was astounded by the abilities Cheng chose to specialize in being a recluse, such as when it comes to interacting with others, he changes completely, becoming almost neurotic in the process. His lips begins to spew forth absurdities, he grows irritated and restless, and he collapses. Become a babbling moron. And when he gets his act together, he could put a pistol to his head and start again. He laughs and admits to you that he is really scared when Cheng gives her the cold shoulder, fearing embarrassment, and is prepared to go above and beyond to avoid being seen as a foolish loser. She seemed to be in a better mood when he responded that she understood. Zio observes that and inquires as to what she believes to be the most significant distinction between angels and demons. After giving it some thought, you inquire as to if it's their genitalia, to which Zio replies that her imagination is quite vivid. Then, to her surprise, she informs you that perception and values hold the key. According to Zio, demons are very susceptible to hate and the worst aspects of human nature, spirit, as well as unfavorable ideas. Thus, it follows that they are used to seeing the darker aspects of human nature and thus causes them to retreat into themselves. They find it difficult to trust others because of this, and for that reason, devils like solitude are curious about what people trust into, and contracts provide the solution. The ones where everyone wins and where she needs to prioritize something significant to her on the line, something she will never ever betray. That's why devils like signing contracts so much, similar to the one they've come into. Because of this, demons are unable to comprehend how angels think, and to them, they seem to be kids having fun with a dollhouse. Angels and demons are like the two halves of human nature. They both live simultaneously and have. Despite the fact that they are incomprehensible to one another, no one could live without the other. However, Zio went on to say that not all demons are the same. It's fairly uncommon to have your opinions changed after going through various experiences. That idiot is an extreme scenario. She could mention a headache. She believed that since Cheng arrived in the human world, he would mature a bit. She then stares at you, but he remains unchanged. After Zio has an insight, he reveals to you a truth about Cheng. There's a reason why Cheng terminated like that, and inquires whether she's interested in knowing that. You check to see whether she's alone herself, but you decide to give it up. According to her, knowing people's secrets and going behind their backs doesn't. When he feels like telling her anything, he may sit right next to her and she will listen. Zio commends you for expressing it, yet she is aware of your genuine curiosity and want to be aware of it. She assures you not to worry and says she won't discuss anything with Cheng. A special deal available just today. You still refuse, however. Zio begs you, saying that she is not fun and that all of this chatting has made her very thirsty, to fetch her some bubble tea, and you say sure in response. Zio tells Cheng that she's a pretty sweet girl after you've gone, and then she asks, accurate or not? After hearing something, Cheng, who is hidden behind the wall and was listening in, freezes in terror. That, Zhu blushes as Zio chuckles and remarks that it's not a healthy habit to listen in on people. He is astonished when Zio asks whether he is blushing, and he becomes frustrated and strikes the wall. Then you deliver Zio the tea and let her know while she's looking for something in. Saying that's enough of melancholy subjects for one day, she goes to her suitcase. Then, with a mischievous smile, she pulls out some comics and asks you whether you enjoy BL. When you hear it, you get perplexed since Zio invites her to approach because she has some pleasant ones, and you consent to it. Going ahead, Yin asks Zio in a whisper why she must pay attention to the angel even if she is powerful, which is why angels must control the demons who visit the human realm. When Zio asked if they didn't know, they all responded with bewildered looks. They don't. The supervisor then abruptly appears behind Zio and requests that they allow her to clarify things. 1. She says that initially angels and devils worked together to run the human world. However, as time passed, demons became sluggish and performed their duties inadequately, which led to plenty of confusion and difficulty. Therefore, angels and devils forged a deal to stop chaos from occurring again, and after then, angels were the only beings in charge of the human world. Currently, an angel is required to oversee the demons entering the human realm, and that's how. This is how everything turned out in the end. The supervisor is then questioned about if it doesn't lead to dissatisfaction among the demons, but she advises her to make her own inquiries. Chang and the others respond to it by saying that it would be too much bother and that they are perfectly okay with receiving food without having to earn it. After that, Yin welcomes everyone to her live broadcast and queries why they're still there, even though she has been streaming for some time. Viewers are still going to her broadcasts. She then replies to a commenter, stating that the ensemble she's wearing is a costume of the video game character she lately become enamored with, and simply, it took her a long time to have her hair done. She also adds in response to another remark that she remembered to put on her underpants. This moment, adding that she takes adherence to the platform's guidelines very seriously. Next, she addresses one of her viewers as master and sweetly thanks them for presents, claims that their generosity is immense. Following some time, Yin notifies her followers that she would be stopping the live since she is worn out and in need of rest. She bids them evening and stops the broadcast by adding she will see them tomorrow. Yin looks exhausted and sighs as she ends the stream. She also remarks on how exhausting and hot it is and how her throat hurts. She then chooses to take a shower after reclining on the chair. Conversely, the supervisor completes her shower and upon her arrival someone enters her room, inquires as to whether she's had a shower and says that it must have felt pleasant. She then recognizes Zhao as the mysterious man she saw outside her balcony, and she hopes, wishing her a nice evening and calling her my sweetheart. The advisor uses her and bolts in the other way, but she stumbles on the ground. Zhao then inquires as to what's wrong and why she seems to be so agitated. Then, with a sly smile on her face, she holds her spectacles and asks if she is searching for this visage. The supervisor then makes a quick attempt to reclaim her spectacles from Zhao, but Zhao avoids it. With easy all of her endeavors, Zhao then presses a button on the glasses to get a notification about turning concealment. After receiving the news, the supervisor is agitated and wraps herself in her towel. Inside of it, herself. Zhao then claims that she hasn't changed at all and becomes thrilled to consider how she will mistreat her. Conversely, Yin finishes her shower and exits the restroom while singing. She then detects something odd and, shocked, drops everything she is wearing. After that, Yin declares that she completely forgot to put in her melting ice cream as she glances at it. Ice cream into the refrigerator. After she has calmed down, she says she will place another purchase with the retailer and searches for her phone. She cries in grief, however, as she realizes that her phone is coated in ice cream. Conversely, Zhao claims that she advised her to quit depending on those spectacles a long time ago. She continues, saying that her pathological state has become worse. Then she exclaims, "It's about time she got," and takes the towel to begin tugging. Get rid of the item. She tells the supervisor to let her have a look as she keeps pulling the towels, says that it is pointless to resist. The supervisor then begins weeping out of the blue, and Zhao wonders whether she's crying. Actually, Zhao then bursts out laughing, teases her, and remarks that it must be very awkward. Zhao is startled to see her caller's self-destruct sequence trigger all of a sudden. that. She then urges her to wait, explaining that it was just a joke and not to be too harsh. But Zhao's collar is still beeping, so she agitatedly instructs her to. She had to quit or she will perish. She then says she's sorry for stealing her spectacles and swears she won't play practical jokes on her anymore. Terrified, the supervisor then dons her spectacles and declares that she will wag her tail, and the next time she pulls a practical joke on her, Zhao will turn it into 20 while admits that she believed her days were over. Then, when the manager inquires as to how those men allowed her to walk outside, she responds, "Stole from the restroom." Zhao becomes enraged and queries how could she abandon all to come to the realm of people, aid dummies, who succeeded in starting a brawl. But the manager gives her a lollipop and advises her to calm down. She then inquires of Zhao if she likes the child, to which she responds that she is a sweet small girl and somewhat resembles a fufu doll. In addition, Zhao expresses her admiration for her ability to manage this marriage plan and notes that the little child is not your typical angel. She adds that when she initially saw the picture, she couldn't believe it, but now she's persuaded. She goes on to say that you have red hair, but she questions if it's really pink. She then inquires as to whether it is magenta, but the supervisor replies that she is the only one who anyone can make jokes about it knows. Zhao then states she doesn't give a damn, but the manager responds that she believed she would object to the proposal. When Zhao hears that, he questions why she would be against something that seems like so much fun and excitement, that she never fails to follow through on her pursuit of pleasure. She cautions her, nonetheless, as things might get problematic if anything happened to occur to you, but the manager assures you that everything will be well as long as nothing goes wrong. Incorrect. Following that, Zhao says it's time for her to return since it would be terrible if they discovered revealed that she slipped away. Subsequently, she queries the supervisor on the succubus and if he left for any reason. They don't live together, she responds. At that point, the manager notices something and asks Zhao, surprising her, whether her initial it was to see how they were doing. She responds hesitantly that she was only there to perform a practical joke on her, but the manager remarks. She now realizes why she seems disappointed and realizes that, given the circumstances, she should have known the partnership. After that, Zhao instructs her to stop talking and says that nobody would want to date someone like that. Flying away, a foolish angel like her, a nasty four-eyed creature. She continues, telling her to hold off and promising to crush things when the time comes, smashing her glasses to bits. The supervisor responds by telling her not to utilize her abilities in the human world. Zhao, however, claims it's okay as long as no one finds out. Next, Cheng becomes concerned about Yu's unconscious state as he lies over his corpse on an abandoned island, and he thinks to himself, what the heck is that place? Cheng was told to wake up a few hours ago by Zhao, and as he opened his eyes, he saw Zhao jumping for him. Next, a yelling, irate crow runs off as Zhao stomps on his stomach, but Zhao on the other, a man almost loses his soul. She then queries how he would rob his lover of his second wake-up service, young sister, but Cheng cries violently because he almost passed away. Then, Zhao urges him to get dressed since they are about to go, but Cheng queries where one goes. They're heading to the beach, she responds, adding that any dignified romance, there has to be a beach episode in every comedy. Cheng then yells that she is reading too much manhua, saying that he has never heard her say it before. Regarding it, Zhao responds, nevertheless, that a decision was made recently. However, since she stayed up late, Yu wakes up feeling very drowsy. The day before, she blames Zhao for pushing at her since she was unable to think clearly, but then, she is going to throw up, so she covers her mouth. Cheng exits his chamber at the same moment, griping about Zhao's actions. It hurts so much that she craves it. Following that, Yu and Cheng both catch sight of one another outside their room and make eye contact with one another, but to Yu's amazement, Cheng glances away from her in an instant, blushing. Then, wondering why he is unconsciously attempting to avoid her, he recalls what that individual said, that his inability to look in the eyes was caused by the day before. After that, he hastily closes his door, believing that something must be wrong with him. However, Yu believes that he is going too far, given how quickly he fled, and considers if that's the extent of his aversion to seeing her face. They continue and eventually reach Cheng's internal beach. Excited by the sheer number of people, Ziyu rides on Cheng's shoulder. The manager is astounded by how quickly they changed into their bikinis, but Ziyu and Cheng advise her that it would be prudent to change into a bathing suit prior to heading to the beach at home. She then asks you to change into your bikinis, but you respond that she lacks a bathing suit. The supervisor reassures her that she is protected and to not worry at that point. Conversely, Ziyu informs Cheng that she is handing the remainder up to him, stating that she's going to go enjoy herself. As T poses, Yin rants about summer, the ocean, and the feeling of freedom in front of Cheng, telling him that while they've just met once, it's been a long the day before. Later, Yin keeps yapping that he doesn't know what it means to be there. Cheng responds by telling him to go over there and provide a hand. At that point, Yin asks whether he can clear his mind of unnecessary matters and gives him advice. The thrill of playing in the water with females is something he doesn't desire. Then he instructs Cheng to observe several bikini-clad females, saying that makes his heart sing. Cheng, however, orders him to stop talking and queries what it has to do with him, like someone who has personally gone through it. But Yin vehemently responds that he was about to forward and join them. When several of the females later ask Yin to hang out with them, he responds by saying he says he's completely free and that he'll be with them soon. But then the supervisor ties him up with a rope and drags him over the beach. Then he suggests that she come along with him, saying that way it would be more thrilling. The supervisor then pulls him about, but Yin complains that he doesn't feel well abruptly and asks that you leave him alone. Conversely, Cheng finishes his task and muses on what to play to pass the time. Then, when Cheng is using his switch to play Breath of the Wild, you go up to him and inquire. Cheng, on the other hand, is rendered speechless upon seeing her if he decides not to swim. Next, after reading a book whose contents you cannot describe, you inform Zio that there is something she's not understanding. Zio wonders what it is at that point, and you question if the items stated in that book are a custom amongst men. Zio is stunned to hear it, but she plays a joke by claiming that it is a normal reaction, similar to how you eat or sleep. Conversely, you're taken aback by her response and hesitantly inquire as to if Cheng can likewise carry out such actions. Next, Zio inquires as to whether Cheng has a male buddy and clarifies if he has sufficient to argue with, and who sticks with him no matter how much they disagree. Subsequently, you recall Yin in an unexpected way and give her a firm nod. Zio responds, I got my answer, and she imagines you feeling ashamed after that. Yin and Cheng engaging in sexual activity together. When Zio sees you like way, he finds her entertaining to play with, while Cheng and you snore inside their chamber. Returning to the main narrative, you ask Cheng whether he plans to forego swimming, but Cheng turns startled to see her and stands up right away. Following that, you try to contact him many times, but he ignores you and turns his head away from her. When she calls, you sulk in disgust and withdraw to a solitary corner of the mat. At that point, he hears several guys gushing about how adorable you are and decides to strike up a conversation with her because she is by herself right now. The boys then come up to her and inquire as to if she is lonely, but they are going to invite. Cheng frightens them from behind her. They then go, assuring her it's okay and that they were only passing by. Cheng, however, questions why he must deal with them and feels that it makes him seem he is concerned. He is astonished when Zio bursts into convulsive laughter in front of his face. Then calling Cheng her little brother, she says it was so cheesy, but Cheng queries. She acts as his elder sister. Then Zio takes hold of your arm and orders her to go swim with you and leave Cheng alone. She informs you that this is her first time at the beach, but you advise her to wait. She keeps telling her that she can't swim after that, but Zio reassures her that she will impart to her the knowledge of. Zio then informs her that she has no more time to waste and shows her your bikini by. She unzipped her coat. You shout at her to do it herself, while Cheng peeks at her in the meantime. Subsequently, she removes her jacket and raises her floater with blush. She then glances back to see what Cheng is up to. She responds that she is coming when Zio wonders what she is waiting for. You start to wonder why Cheng was behaving that way at the water after a time and if he couldn't recognize that she was attempting to engage him in conversation. Then she looks at where she is and realizes they are already rather far off from the coast. Subsequently, she queries Zio about the need of traveling so far from the coast in order to acquire swimming skills. However, she learns that Zio wasn't with her. Conversely, Zio watches the game Cheng was playing and remarks on it. He's skilled at it, but Cheng notices something. She responds that she swam a lot and got lost when he furiously questions what she is doing here. She's taking a break as she's exhausted. Cheng presses her more to find out if she wasn't teaching you how to swim, but she says she absolutely. I overlooked that. Cheng then realizes that you are not close to the coast as she searches through the throng for you. He then screams at Zio for abandoning her. She responds, saying she is so exhausted that she is unable to move a muscle, but Cheng informs, tell her to get over her games and come back. Zio then says he should go grab her personally if he is that concerned. When Cheng asks why, Zio then acknowledges that she did it on purpose, saying that it's enjoyable and he should go over their altercation from earlier. She goes on to say that something could happen to her if he doesn't hurry. When Cheng hears that, he rushes in your direction and Zio says it's the proper decision. Moving forward, the water launches Cheng and you into the air as they were clutching there. Gasp in bewilderment. You worry and try to help her fly by revealing her angel wings, but Cheng snatches her up in time. Lim, you start to become puzzled at that point, and she realizes Cheng has been holding onto her leg. She loudly asks him what he's doing and why he's grasping her leg after a brief silence. Cheng, on the other hand, warns her not to jerk too much since he could collapse. Then you say he's too heavy and instruct him to go off on his own. Cheng questions if she isn't absurdly powerful since she was having trouble staying afloat, and instructs her to merely flap her wings more forcefully. Abruptly, you see something in front of her and wonder whether it's an island. Conversely, Cheng starts to slide off her leg as a result of your questioning her. He then holds her bikini to stop her from falling, but you feel ashamed of him doing it, and gives a loud scream. She then gives him a kick to the face, demands to know what he's doing, and orders him to release her. Then they both start to lose their equilibrium and tumble to the ground. However, Yin first glances at the irate advisor before turning to face Sao, who is acting to remain composed. Then he starts to wonder what transpired between those two, and he senses an impending storm because of their spooky ambience. He has been considering going for a run for some time now, but he can't seem to find the appropriate time. Then the manager surprises them by slamming her palm against the desk. Zayu then advises her to go for it, pointing out that she is outnumbered since it's 2 against 1, but Yin advises her not to include him in it. But the manager takes a drink from the refrigerator, and they watch in silence while she's working at it. They are both puzzled when she sits on the couch after that. Rewinding to the present, Cheng finds himself on the island's coast, and you are lying above him. After a little time, she stands up, clutching her head in agony. Cheng, on the other hand, becomes enraged and demands that she leave him, saying that she is heavy. She immediately apologizes and pulls away at that point, but then she realizes something strange. She states that his ears are returned to normal while pointing at him frantically. Cheng then inquires as to how long his ears have been like Wei and states that he is unable to alter them. Later, he understands something about the environment they are in. But in the meantime, you are taken aback. Must be aware that he believes his ears are adorable and can wiggle them like Zayu. She then questions what to do and expresses a desire to touch and feel their smoothness. Nonetheless, she resists the temptation and asks Cheng where they are, mentioning that it seems abandoned. He answers that he fears this is the domain of the demons, and upon hearing that, she stops talking. Then, realizing they are in the domain of demons, she loses it and cries that she is over, but Cheng yells at her to quiet down and stop yelling. She then says she's heard of demons capturing angels that go into their territory. Enraged, Cheng cries that she won't allow the world and fry their flesh over the campfire, and that they are not barbaric people. Then, he claims that they are indeed in the demon realm, but it doesn't feel that way. Wholly belong to the domain of demons. When you inquire as to what he means, he says that his sister sent them there, thus, it's the island of his bastard sister. You're astonished to learn that and wonder what type of family owns a whole island. Then, abruptly telling her to cease yelling, Cheng reveals that her sister is a demon king's. Oh, so having that job comes with perks like this island. You then advise him to give her a moment to take it all in and confirm with her. Zio is the one who should tell him whether this is an island like the demon realm, who directed them there. He shouts furiously that he wishes he knew what would happen when she asks what will happen next. Then, glancing about her, she inquires as to if this is where he was raised. In response, he says, not really, adding that his sister keeps her treasures here and takes a holiday. Then she asks whether anybody else is on the island, but Cheng responds that the general public is not permitted entry to this unique location. After that, you conclude that Zio purposefully sent them there so that they unwind and socialize, but Cheng informs her that she is undoubtedly up to no good. Then, not knowing how to get out and if they have, he questions what they should do at this point. To stay here on this island for the night. Furthermore, he believes that an unmarried female and a single man wearing just but something that he bet never entered Dummy's thoughts was a bikini. But judging by her relaxed demeanor, he thinks this won't be a big deal. Be concerned about for a little. It's alright if she takes action after you inquire as to whether what he said is accurate. Cheng encourages her to go, believing that he is the only one in this room who is worried about their post-mortem state. Then, you declare that it's been a long time as you extend her body and display her wings, ever since she was given the opportunity to fly. Cheng, nevertheless, advises avoiding creating that particular stance. Instead, the following second, her bikini is snatched off her body by something. Cheng, meanwhile, is left speechless as she examines her body, and it becomes clear that the bird that stole her garments was a pigeon. You inquire what it was after you scream in humiliation and cover her melons. Chang describes them as her sister's pets, referring to them as uploaders. They like pulling practical jokes on gullible individuals by stealing their clothing when it's not. Observing, Chang adds that her sister gave them strange language lessons. When you hear it, you respond that it's unacceptable and shoot straight at them. Chang encourages her to wait, but she screams at the pigeons to give up instead, returning her clothing. Just as she reached out to pick up the pigeon that had taken her garments, the scenery abruptly changed, shifted to the shore where she fell to the earth. She then inquires as to what transpired, to which Cheng responds that's why he advised her to wait. She then declares that she was certain she was flying while holding out her naked melons, upward as opposed to downward. Cheng says, turning aside, that if she attempts to leave the island via regular channels, she says she should hide herself and that she would eventually return there. She then cries out in shame and hides her body with her hands as tears start to well up in her eyes. Cheng sighs with regret after feeling bad about her contrite expression. Then he snatches his jacket and flings it in her direction. Then he orders her to put this on and says he didn't see anything, which enrages her, worthy of tears. Later on, you put on Cheng's jacket and give him a little thank you, but Cheng informs her now that she is clothed, she need to cease weeping and shouting. You question Cheng about the scars on his back that you now see, but Cheng stays quiet. Subsequently, he moves a little distance and sleeps under the tree, declaring his intention to have a nap. You encourage him to wait at that point, but Cheng furiously demands if she has any more brilliant ideas about how must get out of here. He goes on to say that she should give up wasting her efforts if she is at a loss for ideas, on having fun and on getting some rest, adding that as soon as his sister is tired, she'll arrive and remove them from that place. Zio, on the other hand, uses the camera she fitted in a drone to spy on them while she remarks, it looks like things are going well over there, while sucking a lollipops. She does, however, cast a sidelong look at the supervisor, who seems composed, and wonders, what's up with that four-eyed moron? Then, calling the supervisor a four-eyed idiot, Zio approaches her and inquires as to what she's working at it. She keeps asking if she doesn't want to know the current whereabouts of her little angel daughter. She says that despite her seeming calm exterior, she is really rather anxious. Then Zio plays a joke on her, suggesting that if she really wants to know that much, she might think about letting her know. After 10 minutes, Zio becomes enraged and demands that the advisor at least respond to her, that she's giving her a clown-like appearance. Ian believes he should inquire, but she keeps telling her to open her lips. You'd best avoid them. Zio then becomes impatient and tells her that she really sent those two to that island, as well as if she was able to catch her off guard. The advisor then puts down the book she was reading and states that it has been 56 minutes and 36 seconds. Nonetheless, a new record. Like in the past, she still can't go an hour without someone chatting to her. When Zio discovers she's been duped, she snaps at her fiercely. The supervisor then remarks that if she behaved how she desired, she would have played with her, and 3 whole days may have passed. She also advises her to use caution given how long they have known one another while. With a furious look, Zio refers to her as old hell. Next, the manager gets ready to leave for the island and extends an invitation to Yin. Zio, nevertheless, advises her to hold off. She frantically requests 3 minutes from the supervisor and states that she has a. After hearing that there's a legitimate cause, the advisor becomes curious. Yu, on the other hand, wipes away her perspiration as she completes her magnificent sand castle. She then casts a sidelong look at Cheng, who seems to be still asleep, and wears a bored face. Zio, in the meanwhile, berates the supervisor, claiming that her approaches are too traditional, and that they just aren't effective. She also queries if she can really state that those two advanced mentioning the last 6 months, and that doing things her way would be preferable. On the other hand, Yin wonders how it happened and thinks he will be okay, provided he stays out of that. Zio then unexpectedly asks Yin what he thinks about her comment, to which he cautiously says yes. When the supervisor hears it, he looks at Yin menacingly and leaves him scared. Subsequently, she furiously informs Zio that a melon that is harvested before it ripens won't be tasty. Zio counters that there are instances when catching people off guard produces superior outcomes. Following that, they both scowl at Yin and inquire as to who he believes is correct. But Yin asks for help from someone as he is about to cry. Zio continues, asking the supervisor how she would get there given her knowledge of their location. She then taunts her, telling her that only she can unlock the door to that location, and she won't instruct her on how to accomplish it. She does, however, assure her that if they stay on that island for a little while longer, they will kiss at the very least. When the supervisor hears it, she becomes curious and Zio, who is holding popcorn, asks what she believes. She continues by saying that they need to simply remain here and see them work at it. Think it might out to be enjoyable. Following a little silence, the manager seats next to her and assures her that she would accept her fare this one time, but Zio argues that she made the proper decision. The advisor is then informed by Zio, who flicks her finger that she may see the real time. She linked the video on the screen to the monitoring system on the island, and the supervisor retorts that everything is okay. Then, Zio and the advisor ask Yen to bring them refreshments, but Yen believes that the devils are both of them. On the other hand, Yu reclined on the beach as dusk was approaching and her tummy rumbled due to hunger. Then she talks about how hungry she is and how she missed breakfast. Okay. Later, she looks over at Chen and notices that he is still sleeping. Next, she asks him if he's hungry and if he knows where they can get food. A little food. But because he didn't reply, you assume that he's too easygoing and believes about locating it on her own. Chen looks after her as she leaves the woodland and believes that she will be okay, as the island doesn't include any harmful objects. You discover that it is gloomy inside due to the lush flora in the interim. Then, believing she can fly, she chooses to go further in quest of some wild fruits. If she gets lost, stand up and look around. Later on, she finds some wild mushrooms and studies them closely. She was ignorant about the species of those mushrooms and their edible status, however. She then makes the decision to show Chen a few of them. She thinks he may be able to do something with them. A moment later, she turns around in surprise after hearing a rustling noise. She then inquires as to the source of the noise and if she is hearing anything, but she chooses to return as she's starving. She eventually discovers that she is lost, but because she had a backup plan, she wasn't concerned. Then she tries to fly by revealing her wings to take off, but before long, she falls on the ground, complaining that the branches are so close together that she is unable to grow. She then whimpers in agony and realizes that her foot is injured. She abruptly realizes that the mushrooms she had previously picked are now dispersed throughout the ground, and is unsure of what to do since choosing them was difficult. She then begins to scream out of anger, wiping her eyes and giving her a smack cheeks in an attempt to relax. A brief silence is followed by her sobbing once again as she melancholily wonders how she could be so worthless that even such a basic task escapes her. She then questions what to do since she's famished, injured her foot, and lost her way. She can't see in the dark, and darkness is fast upon us. She then turns to face the sky, pondering whether to call out his name and if he would really show up. Would Chen come seeking for her to hear her? Chen, on the other hand, has been stealthily following her and can hear all she says. Then, considering how he got there given that it's chilly outside and his body aches from every blade of grass. Additionally, he questions why he followed her and believes that there must be a mental health issue since it is none of his business what she does. But given that his behavior suggests otherwise, he concludes that he is merely being calm and attempting to maintain everyone's strength. Furthermore, he recalls having a weird sense just now, like if there is something anywhere else on this island. He wonders himself where Yu went after realizing she's disappeared from his view. Conversely, Yu makes his way through the woodland, griping that Cheng had an unhappy look on his face, even though he answered her phone and said that she would prefer not to see that kind of face at this time. Subsequently, she resolves to reach the shore or locate a clearing in the forest, as she won't get far by pouting. She said how hungry she was on her trip and how she hoped she could have a little meat. She discovers that the fruits she suddenly sees on a tree are mulberries, and starts to bring them along. But then a bear materializes in front of her, growling, emerging from the woods. On the other side, Cheng becomes aware when he hears the sound. The bear gives her a frightening glance after that, but she doesn't say anything. The bear then roars loudly in her direction, but Yu doesn't panic, confusing the creature. She stares at the bear with glistening eyes for a bit before drooling, and then she shouts. At that point, the bear becomes scared and roars in terror. Cheng, on the other hand, is curious about what's happening and believes the sound originated nearby. Then he rushes over to Yu, inquiring as to what the commotion was and if anything had occurred. Nevertheless, he sees Yu bite the bear as the bear flees for his life and notices that he has become mute. The bear then drags her to the shore in a terrified condition while sprinting. The bear's head is then grabbed by Yu, who says that she has food and that he shouldn't consider escaping. Later, she realizes that she reached the shore by pursuing him, and she wonders whether she was perceiving anything or whether she had just heard Cheng's voice. Cheng, in the meanwhile, approaches her after being stunned by what she is doing. Conversely, Yu contacts Cheng and informs her that she has gotten food for them. After hearing this, Cheng gives her a headshake. While Cheng is patting the bear's head, Yu is about to cry and wonders why he beat her. To give him comfort. When Yu becomes perplexed, Cheng clarifies that the bear is her sister's pet and says that she often abandons him to take care of the home on the island. Yu is startled to learn that and inquires as to if the bear belongs to his sister. Cheng goes on to say that he is generally submissive and that his biggest trick is pulling practical jokes, startle a stranger and turn them on. Yu then says she's sorry to the bear, explaining that it wasn't intentional and that she didn't want to harm him. But the bear retreats behind Cheng, abandoning her dump truck. Cheng then bids the bear goodnight and advises him to exercise caution on his return. And don't forget to alert his pals about their visitor's presence on the island. Subsequently, Yu feels a knot in her gut and says, if only she knew, would have delivered the food that she collected, rather than pursuing the bear. Cheng, however, informs her that she would have died if she had eaten the mushrooms. By now, at that, Yu claims she forgot to disclose that the food she collected consisted of mushrooms and queries how he found out. He responds that because he is familiar with the region, it was just a visitor, and it would have been stranger yet if he hadn't guessed it. He then exhales deeply and motions for her to accompany him, but she queries where they are traveling. He responds that they will find somewhere to spend the night and some food. Yu remarks that the area is completely black, but Cheng assures her that demons can see perfectly fine in the dark and that she will be okay as long as she stays with him. Later on, before the temperature drops too much, he advises her to get moving. He turns to face her again and tells her to remain close, but she disappears from view. Conversely, Yu claims that he abruptly disappeared from her view and that she was about to go the other way around. Cheng screams at her with fury. Then, glancing at her, he remarks that she is such a pain and encourages her to remain near. Return to inquire as to how she got lost being this close to him. He discovers that she has vanished once again. Then he notices that her gaze is diverting, so he screams furiously asking her if she is playing with him. Later, she uses his tail to bind her hand and fiercely declares that she will no longer get lost. Yu, on the other hand, indicates that his tail is warm and touches it. Is rougher than that of Ian Rizio's. Cheng urges her to stop talking and to stop caressing his tail at random at that point. She immediately apologizes to him and promises to do her best to avoid causing any problems. As a result, she begs him to stop being irrationally furious. When Cheng notices it, he turns away embarrassedly, wondering why he can't gaze directly at her. Then he starts to wonder what has been wrong with him since this morning and believes that something is up about him. Yu becomes agitated at his response and questions if he already despises her. The pigeon that was attempting to sneak up on her is then caught as she abruptly discovers something. She calls the pigeon a lustful bird and remarks that it was foolish of him to believe that again she would be duped by the same ruse. She then lets go of the pigeon, but it infuriates her by clinging to her all the while. Later, Cheng asks her what she is doing as he drags her with his tail, but she responds he should wait as her clothing became tangled with something. Then she breaks free of the vines with her garments and rushes in his direction, but she doesn't observe that her bikini is draped over the vines. Moving ahead, Yu examines the enormous sculptures of various designs while maintaining a puzzled face that were on the island, and she looks at 3 sculptures of humans and says, wow. These are the objects from his sister's collection, Cheng tells Yu, and as soon as Yu questions her, somewhat startlingly, whether she even got it when she sees anything and brings it to this island. 1. Cheng responds, it looks like the bottom half of a statue that Ziyu didn't see. Enjoy the whole gathering. But she was unable to ignore it since she generally takes the original here and replaces it with a duplicate, but this time she left the original head in its place as well. Conversely, when Ziyu attempted to flee, the supervisor grabbed her by her clothing. He furiously inquires as to whether she was the source of all those thefts. The supervisor also inquires as to if she added anything to this while they are talking about it. Heap of garbage she's been owning lately, to which she responds, of course not, it's been a long time. It's been a while since she added anything to her collection, so quit babbling. Subsequently, Yu moans in agony, perhaps having trodden on a thorn once again, and she says, yes, it's difficult to walk barefoot sufficiently. Then, Cheng asks her why she is standing there and advises her to remain nearby. Yu answers that she will be there. She considers putting up with it since she doesn't want to annoy him any more than she already had, but Cheng advises her to take a break for the time being. Hearing that, she feels shocked. Cheng continues, saying that he has to rest since he is exhausted from walking in this manner, should she oppose in any way. Additionally, he instructs her to wait for him here and says he will go scout ahead for a little while. She does, however, claim she will accompany him. He says she shouldn't since taking care of her requires a lot of energy. Just remain where she is and don't move, don't squander him anymore. As she hears his answer, she sighs and says, let's just sit here and talk. Take a seat and bide your time. Given that Cheng's wounds are exactly where his wings should be, she questions what those scars on his back are. That's how the scar caused by his wings being torn off would seem, she thought. Considers. She also questions Cheng's circumstances for leaving such a scar. These scars, what he endured to get here, and his extreme susceptibility to. Extremes could be connected. She then makes an attempt to consider it for a while, but she quickly quits up since she simply couldn't consider anything. Though she would aggravate his previous scars, she was considering asking him. Was rather inquisitive. Subsequently, she observes that the bear is carrying some food, but the bear becomes terrified upon seeing her. Dashes off at a breakneck pace. When you see it, you're surprised, but then she notices some fruits on the ground. She speculates that the bear could have been searching for them in order to provide them with food, and while she praises the bear, adding, he's such a cutie, as she uses her bare hands to slice a coconut. Pleasant individual. Then Cheng informs you that he has returned from reconnaissance and believes they have 15 minutes remaining of moving in front of them. But when he sees you munching on some fruit, he inquires as to where the food is from. This is from the bear, he brought it a minute ago, she responds. Then you give him a coconut and tell him to taste it. It's very good. When Cheng inquires about how to open it, she responds by slicing the coconut with ease. She grabs his bare hands and says, like this, easy right, frightening him. Even when everything tastes excellent, you say that was fantastic after they've finished eating. Meanwhile, when you're starving, after telling her that he believes they won't need to worry about food for a while, Cheng, to prepare to go, to which she responds, okay, or over. He then instructs her to give him her foot so. It confuses her. Then you believe it worried her since she assumed that he was wrapping leaves around her foot. He had a plan in mind. Cheng gets upset when she says she feels like a dumpling that is being wrapped up. After hearing that, you tell him to let her finish the task on her own. Cheng continues, saying that this is a Japanese banana leaf that is thick enough to form a foot. Wrap up, though. You inquire as to whether the recent scouting was a pretext for going in search of these leaves. Hearing that, Cheng makes an intimidating expression and you says that was a joke. He happened to notice it while scouting because of how slowly she was moving. She says that the longer she remains mute being frightened to attract attention to the matter, the greater the problem for which you are sorry. He asks her to give him the other leg after wrapping one of hers, and she responds with an affirmative. Then, when he scans her physique, he's shocked to realize that her private area is not wrapped with any material. Subsequently, he flushes due to the abrupt startle and questions her decision to wear commando. He questions why she isn't dressed, but based on her demeanor, it doesn't seem like it. Perhaps she dropped them by mistake, but it seems like she's doing it on purpose. Furthermore, he believes that no one could be so foolish as not to believe that their clothes are falling off, thus the most plausible argument is that he just thought about it. He considers looking at it again later, but he turns his head away since she really wears nothing down that area. He also wonders how she could not sense that it was becoming chilly down there. Questions the rationale behind her choice of strappy swimwear in the first place. Then he realizes this and becomes furious, believing that the supervisors must be responsible for it. Conversely, Zio commends the supervisor, stating that an inadvertent disclosure of a girl's one of the quickest methods to bridge the gap between personalities is via private areas, the awkwardness and uncontrollably high hormones. She not only got the intended outcome, but she also accomplished it in a manner that the audience found endearing. The manager responds, she's not as knowledgeable about this as Zio. Her abilities are hardly comparable to a person who sometimes watches romance novels. Zio, on the other hand, advises her not to be so humble since it is she who ought to be learning from her. Cheng, on the other hand, is unable to decide what to do or whether to warn her. Conceive of a method to inform her, and then he imagines himself informing you that her garments had fallen off. Is not going to tell her that in any manner. When you later inquire as to if something is amiss, Cheng is surprised and quickly restricts her foot. When he's done, you think, wow, this is so much better. Her feet don't hurt anymore. Cheng shuts his eyes and tells himself to act as if he didn't see anything. Whatever. You then give him a smiley thank you, but Cheng blushes at that. If he was unaware, that would be one thing, but as of late, every time he recalls that there is nothing, he can't not be aware beneath those garments. He hits his head on a tree while unintentionally staring at her lower body and thinks, sinful ideas, put them away. He continues, let's go, to which she responds, sure, as they are on their way. Upon seeing his tail, you grip it, which startles him and observes his response. You inquire as to what's wrong and if he feels ill. Cheng hesitantly requests her to stop touching him when she inquires about if he is experiencing a stomachache. His snout. Seeing his response, she is left speechless, but she suddenly lets go of his tail in a terrified condition. He claims to be the one who instructed her to cling on Cheng's tail, but Cheng clarifies she won't have to hold it if she stays near her. She responds that she gets it and asks why, given that he didn't seem to be terrified of his tail having previously been touched. Since this is the first time, she also questions the meaning of the look he was wearing just now. That seems a little vulgar to her, having seen him like that. You then inquire as to why he is walking and bending forward in that manner. However, Cheng instructs her to stop talking and focus just on her gait. After some time, Cheng declares that this should be the location and that they have arrived. He says there's only a lake here when he inquires as to the location, but Cheng says that the island's core is located here. When he discovers it, he believes it was about here. You comment, wow, a statue of a cat, while Cheng remarks there should be another one. You comment on the strange position of the second cat statue after taking a closer look at it. Cheng, in the meanwhile, seizes the two sculptures and positions them in a mating pose, saying that makes you startled and ask yourself, what the hell? Then, she looks into the water and wonders whether anything is rising to the top. She continues to stare at it as it appears on the ground, and eventually, she startlessly inquires as to what it is. She believes that as a child, she saw this on television. Cheng, nevertheless, queries why, given what she's seen today, she is shocked. Then, as she looks in astonishment at the enormous edifice, Cheng extends an invitation for her to leave. Cheng is still mute after that, so you ask him if anything is wrong. You inquire, and Cheng responds that it's locked and seems like they need a password to unlock it. What they are currently doing. Conversely, Zio gleefully asks whether they really believe that she would let them in this way with ease, adding that Cheng lacks maturity. When the manager inquires about her preparations, she says she's sure she did. They will need to do a number of tasks in order to get a password, the tips, which she has spread around the island. Additionally, every task entails some kind of physical closeness, such as but not limited to, restricted to Princess Carrie's passionate and thrilling cuddles, kisses, and other difficulties. There will be several instances of the well-known suspension bridge effect, the one that reunites individuals and peaks their emotions in romantic comedies. Not only that, but there are 76 decryption tasks, 10 side missions, and 6 major objectives, which she referred to as the Forest Book. When the supervisor hears it, she responds, I always find that kind of development a little too corny. Then, with a furious expression, Zio claims that it is timeless and goes by the name Classic. However, the manager queries how much money she made from it. Zio advises her not to undervalue these types of difficulties, and she says this to her as a person with extensive knowledge in this field. She goes on to say that if everything goes as she has planned and they overcome every obstacle, then they will undoubtedly reach their happy ending quickly. When the supervisor follows up to inquire whether that is really the case, she responds that she provides her. Say anything to her. Cheng types a phrase while wondering what the password may be in the meantime, which the password is recognized, allowing them access. You say, wow, at this point, adding that it's as roomy as she's seen in movies. Cheng, however, ordered, leave. When Zio sees it, he is astounded and wonders how Cheng knows the password since she kept it to herself. The manager surmises that she may have utilized a meme or a line from a video game or anime of a passcode. Zio responds, nonetheless, that she was ready for this type of circumstance. They had to speak the passphrase aloud in order to enter the next door, and they had to travel there in order to get the passphrase. Cheng is agitated upon hearing that, while Zio claims she outfitted the second door with. After the first unsuccessful attempt, the system will enter the passphrase lockdown. Nevertheless, Cheng exclaims, I love Elijah. At this point the password is accepted. The door opens a little. Zio is startled to see it and inquires as to how Cheng managed to get it right on the first attempt. You then inquire how he knows all the passwords and mention that his sister is a security nerd. Cheng responds, saying that this wasn't the case the last time he was here. Zio like using well-known quotes from video games and anime as passwords, so if they maintain track of her watch list and her backlog of games, they may have a good chance of figuring the passcode. The advisor then gives Zio a frightening gaze, and she queries, what's up with that, are you? She continues, adding that she still has a secret weapon in her sleeve. Following that, Cheng and Yu discover a lock-like security device, and Yu explains that it states they may get the key by successfully completing tasks. Then, with excitement, Zio states that they weren't expecting that and that it's inevitable that To open, they will need a real key. But Cheng lifts a neighboring flower pot and discovers the lock's key, saying that he located it. When you inquire as to how he knows where to search, Cheng responds that there is a spare key, and he assumes Zio neglected to dispose of it. The advisor on the other side snatches Zio's head in a fit of wrath, but Zio orders her to wait and allow her to clarify. As Yin is taking a shower, she hears the advisors and Zio bickering. Then she says, "Those two sure are lively," and asks how you're doing. He hopes nothing awful happens to them, or rather to her, even though it's not like she can assist her anymore. You know, she doesn't give a damn about Cheng. She goes on, adding, "At least this time she wasn't pulled into some disaster, and nobody knows what kind of ordeal those two monsters could have in store for her." Following that, you check to see whether she's safe and inquire inquisitively of Cheng. That odd. There's a treasure box over there, could she open it and see what's inside? Which he responds, no. She unlocks the chest nonetheless to have a peek, but Cheng screams at her to stop. Reach out and touch it. Then, warning her to be careful, he pulls her back to prevent an assault. You see that it melted her clothing, which is why Cheng claims he warned her against doing it. Contact it because it missed them with a substance that melts their clothing, yet it doesn't burn their flesh or anything else. He goes on to claim that Zio set traps and lures around, so the next time she is told not to touch anything that catches her attention, to which she responds, "Got it." She then takes a closer look and realizes that her clothing are now ripped, and discovers with embarrassment that she has no fabric on down there. She is curious about the whereabouts of her swimsuit underpants and if they may have fully. That liquid just now melted it. On the other side, Cheng remarks, "Let's go," but you hesitantly and wonders why she is waiting there. Takes hold of her clothing and blushingly says, "She's coming." Cheng can tell that she finally noticed by the way she reacts. But you thought, how could it be that her garments didn't burn right now? Maybe Cheng had previously seen her down there, which would also account for his peculiar actions. That time, you then give him a dagger stare, which makes Cheng believe he should play the fool and act as if he is ignorant. Then Cheng tells her that this is the location and that they have arrived. They enter a typical-looking living room as he opens the door. You believe this place appears delightfully typical in comparison to all the strangeness outdoors. Nevertheless, given what she has seen, she wouldn't be shocked to discover anything strange. Additionally here, Cheng says that she should use the restroom there first and he will attempt to get some fresh clothing for her, to which she gives a nod of approval. She responds as he continues by saying that she can find towels, soap, and shampoo in there, that she understood. She then gives Cheng a quick look to get his attention, and he says, "What's if the hot water isn't working properly?" When she asks whether he saw, blushing, Cheng acts stupid, saying, "Saw what?" His response leaves her stunned, and she responds, "Nothing, never mind." She believes that it seems as if she was talking about and worrying about nothing. How could she have been so blind to the fact that she had misplaced her clothes? Cheng, in the meanwhile, stops bleeding from his nose, believing that he was done for and that if she lingered there for one more second, she would have undoubtedly discovered him. However, when she's having a bath, you stretch her body and remark that this is reviving. From outside the restroom, Cheng informs her that he discovered some of Zio's old clothing and she thanks him and tells him he will leave them at the door. Considering her figure, she then believes that Zio's clothing may be too tiny for her, of a young child. She then puts on Zio's clothing and is shocked to see that they suit her. She continues by touching this portion of her melons and remarks that even here. She then strikes a few stances while glancing in the mirror at herself. Cheng is then informed by her that the restroom is free, but because he doesn't reply. Where has he gone? She wonders. She glances at Cheng as he sleeps on the couch after seeing him there. Then, seeing his dozing countenance, she deduces that he must have fallen asleep, feel exhausted from all that occurred in the jungle. Subsequently, she gives him a passionate glance before prodding his face. She prods his face many more times, but Cheng becomes agitated and shifts his face sideways. Yu thinks that this is amusing and that he seems to be sleeping as she grins. She is uncertain about whether it is okay to be a bit naughty in this type of setting, and extends her hand after that. Lying on top of him, she starts pinching his ears and finds comfort in this sensation. She also remarks on how lovely and delicate they are to the touch. He smells lovely, like shower gel, she thinks after taking a whiff of his collarbone. Following that, she realizes that she is acting and what she is doing. Like this pervert, Cheng then begins to exhibit faint indications of awakening, which frightens her and makes her consider getting disappear before he knows. But in his sleep, Cheng grabs her by the waist and draws her closer him. Following that, Yu is shocked and perplexed as to why he suddenly did that. Conversely, Zio and the supervisor both excitedly raise their fists in the air. and kind remarks. Yu then remarks that she finds this person unbelievable, but it seems that he is still asleep. She also criticizes herself for not seeing that he often hugs objects while he sleeps. Yu then makes an attempt to escape, but she is unable to do so since she is in his grasp. She continues to wonder, why is this person so powerful every time he sleeps? And that's so close she can really feel his breath. She then makes every effort to get up, but the ring acts strangely, and then she becomes startled and wonders what's happening since she is immobile. When Cheng drags her violently toward him, Zio and the supervisor react enthusiastically from the opposite corner of the display. Then Yu moved her head away just as Cheng was about to kiss her as he slept, which led to in his cheek kisses for her. Cheng and Yu, on the other hand, avoid making eye contact while Zio and the supervisor seem dejected. Yu, meantime, is being kissed and is confused about what's happening. Yu is ashamed to think that Cheng kissed her on the face after that. She never would have tampered with his ears if she had known that this would occur, and she believes that the cost of her mischievous behavior was quite high. Yu believes that Cheng has stopped cuddling her when he abruptly turns her sideways. She is agitated when Cheng kisses her on the forehead after that. Yu, in the meanwhile, wonders what to do and says that her heart is about to leap out of her torso. Then, smiling in his sleep, Cheng puts his hand on Yu's head and pats her. Yu wagers that he is dreaming strangely once again at that point, and she then sees his absurd grin before becoming angry. She thinks it feels lovely, but she also wonders why it makes her feel so comfortable. They both nod off in one another's arms as she gradually shuts her eyes. Conversely, Zio and the supervisor see them nodding off in front of their TV and afterward losing all words. After that, Zio exclaims furiously that they were so near and that she was anticipating something hot. Instead, they deliver it to her this way. Similar to how the most recent episode of the TV they are watching keeps getting better and better, then reaches the delicious portion at last, and then it stops abruptly. Yu, meantime, remarks it was fantastic after taking a shower. She continues, saying that the best thing to do is drink a can of juice after taking a bath, although she observes anything odd. She inquires as to what's wrong and why Zio and the supervisor are gazing at her like that. When they approach Yin too closely, she informs them they are frightening her, and they need to speak out if they have something to say. Yin asks them what they are doing while sobbing and warns them not to get near her. Conversely, with Yu laying over him, Cheng awakens with the sensation that his hand has become numb. He then turns to look at Yu and notices that she is dozing off on his body. He begins to perspire as a result. Pondering the situation, he wonders why and what the devil occurred. She is sleeping here on Earth. He lost all memory of the event after he went to sleep. Still, he had to go before she wakes up and causes a commotion. He then makes a cautious attempt to take her hand away, but Yu becomes agitated as she sleeps, and eventually, she presses herself into his chest and gives him an even closer embrace. Cheng is confused and starts to wonder what's going on, but Yu adjusts her mouth, muttering, "Niam, Niam." She attempted to eat the pudding from her dream, but she bit Cheng's ears in the process, and gave him a start. Because she bit his delicate ears, Cheng became aroused and grabbed onto the couch hard, both of his hands. When he could take it no more, he tied her up with his tail and lifted her above the ground. He remarks that this moron's sleeping habits make him believe it was rather close, since he almost yelled, are astounding. He also believes that he had to leave immediately because if she continues in this manner, things will grow worse. Out of here. After that, Cheng uses his tail to gently move her so he may escape. But all of a sudden, his ring activates, leaving him stunned and unable to move. Strength. Yu, on the other hand, gets uneasy and grips his tail, which startles him. She begins to collapse over him as he loses his hold on her due to the abrupt shock. Cheng twisted his face sideways as she was about to fall, and Yu kissed him. Cheng's face. At that point, Cheng yells within his thoughts and loses all ability to speak. Conversely, Yin is dressed up in a costume and photographed by Ziyu and the advisor. Then they tell Yin to grin and turn to face the camera as she creates a stance. The counselor continues, saying that she didn't think she would like herself so much in the bag, but let's proceed. Ziyu replies, "One should always be ready for everything," to which Yin queries if they're finished. Ziyu then urges Yin to try while gathering some costumes, saying that it's a ridiculous question. The counselor inquires as to if the one she is holding is as fantastic as this one. Yin shivers in terror at that, and she starts crying. The next morning, Yu is sleeping wildly on top of Cheng, who is exhausted. Then, he realizes that daylight has arrived, and all of a sudden, he gets a message from his ring claiming that despite them giving him this opportunity, he blew it. Yu then starts to awaken to the sound of cutting veggies. When she awakens, she sees Cheng preparing dinner behind her back. It bewildered her, and then she froze into a locked position. Following that, when Cheng was cooking, she gives him a quick backhand embrace and remarks, "This has a pleasant scent." But Cheng snarls at her, telling her to get off, saying it's unsafe. Then, in a fit of rage, he strikes her in the head, to which Yu clutches her head and asks both her location and identity. Yu queries Cheng when he instructs her to go wash up since the supper will soon be ready. Cheng yells that it's already noon, asking whether it's breakfast. Yu ate her lunch once Cheng finished cooking and thought it was delicious. They've only been on the island for 2 days, and yesterday was quite the busy day. Then, while she keeps eating, she suddenly recalls the previous evening and wonders what happened the next evening. After that, she doesn't recall anything. It's like falling asleep while watching a movie. In the midst, sleepy, she makes an effort to recall the message she saw when she got up, and since Cheng has a bad sleeping schedule, she wonders if he did anything strange to her while she was sleeping and then abandoned her. That Cheng, in the meanwhile, made eye contact with Yu while eating and then turned his head aside, which Yu started to question his response. She doesn't respond when Cheng asks what's wrong. She had been the one to do something strange initially, so she couldn't bring herself to ask him. Following a little period of stillness, they both simultaneously express their amazement at discover that their sleeping patterns are really awful. When they hear it, they are both taken aback and declare at the same time that that is the last person they want to hear from. They advise one another to never mind after adding the occurrence from last night. At that point, they both become upset and yell, "Stop repeating them." They have a monotone voice. On the other hand, their actions perplex Zio and the supervisor. Zio remarks that it seems as if she missed an anime episode and asks what's going on. However, the supervisor claims she feels as if they overlooked a certain progression. Later, Yu abruptly prodded the bear's face as he was dozing off on the island and inquired if he was conscious at all. When the bear sees her face, it becomes scared and whimpers, for which Yu is sorry. She continues, saying she didn't want to frighten him. Yu then offers him a fruit basket, claiming to have given him some food, and seeing how he must be hungry since he was sleeping here. She apologized for frightening him and wanted to thank him for the meal he gave them last night. She continues, saying they're excellent and that she took them while Chang wasn't there. She asks the bear not to inform him that she is searching. As this is going on, the bear smells the meal and blushes at her honesty. Conversely, Chang exits the base with a basket in his hands and a cap on, saying that the temperature is very high. When Chang seems surprised to see her riding, Yu asks abruptly where he's headed. Atop the bear, he says, "I wonder how these two got so close," adding that Zio's pet would never normally let everyone around him other from him and Zio. Later on, Yu reiterates his plan about the object on his back, to which Chang responds, said he intends to get some ingredients from the island's kitchen garden. Chang responds that there is no need as Yu then promises to come aid him. She urges her to remain here and not go elsewhere, saying that she will just cause trouble. When Yu instructs him to wait, she says he's back at it again, this time with an agitated communication. When Chang awakens in the gender-reversing parallel universe, she finds herself nude, in bed with Yu. Then, shocked, she turns to face Yu, who is beaming. When she wonders what the heck, Yu responds, "Let's sleep a little longer, it's still early." But she wants him to go now, yelling that he must be joking her. She then knocks him out of the bed, and Yu clutches his head in agony and queries what got into her at that early hour of the day. Chang responds, that's her line, and inquires as to why he is breaking into her room covertly once again. But Yu responds that this is his room and that she entered his room just partially last night, fell asleep and got into his bed. Chang blushes and wonders why she is the victim in this situation while he goes on to say that he is nude. Yu responds it's because he undressed her at that point and since they've been sleeping in their clothing, it's not comfortable, so he removed them. Chang orders him to commit suicide after hearing it, but Yu claims she sprang into his bed instead. It implies that she was the one who first made an attempt to woo him. But Chang yells at him to go die and flings a pillow in his face. She timidly inquires later as to whether they repeated it, but Yu blithely says that nothing. Chang encourages him to quit trying to be foolish after what happened. Despite knowing that she shouldn't have, she wonders why this occurred again, and asks why he failed to rouse her. Yu responds that no matter what he does to her, she won't wake up because that's how her body works. Since her body still responds intuitively even when she is sleeping, Chang throws a weapon in his face and orders him to perish. Chang instructs Yu to stop up after he advises her to calm down, claiming that he provided protection, saying she's tired of hearing from him and that she wants to shut up. Conversely, Yin instructs the advisor to hold off, but he responds that they haven't been. Walking for so long has already worn her out. When Yin points out that she is a female, he ought to ease down and give her a break. But the advisor inquires as to if she hadn't said the same thing when inhabiting a male body. After that, Yin introduces herself and says that she was cursed because of certain events by a cunning angel, and as a consequence of that curse, she changes into a boy every night. Her life has been a complete chaos ever then. She must lead a double life in order to escape discovery. During the day, she is a girl known as Yin Zai. Additionally, she assumes the identity of Yin Zai at night and changes into a boy. She is compelled to suffer a life of misery. Eventually, her hunt for a means to break the curse brought her to the human realm, and she thought she had at last discovered a clue to break the spell. However, it turned out that the supervisor had prepared a trap, and he bound her in to employ her for his company. She also promises that she will suffer several consequences if she disobeys him. She will eventually force the supervisor to pay. Following that, Yu and Chen meet with Yin and the supervisor, and Yu report they haven't seen one another in a long time. While the supervisor says hello, Yin greets him with excitement at seeing Yu. Yin then remarks that she has been asking Yu if he didn't mention that he wanted to spend out with her, awaiting his invitation for a very long time. You question, however, whether he really stated that. In addition, Yin inquires as to if he has had a chance to consider her offer that they discussed the previous instance, which deals with moving in with Cheng after leaving, and adds that she will see to it that all of his wishes are met. Yin asks Cheng what she is doing as she abruptly dumps hot water on her head. Then she poses a frightening question. "Are you looking for a fight?" That's her line. Cheng responds, telling her to mind what she says. While seeing their argument, the supervisor remarks how great, but you want them to put an end to their quarrel. Then, Yin takes hold of one of his arms and calls Cheng an aggressive, ugly, and unreasonable lady, telling him to end their relationship. But Cheng takes hold of his other arm and says that's much more preferable than being a swarming succubus that tries to take everything in its path. She notices a wallflower. When the supervisor sees it, he remarks that he is still as popular as ever, and you report him to keep him alive. Then the manager approaches you, explaining that seeing him enjoying himself made him want to join, and as he has been with you the longest out of all of them, he is aware of all of his shortcomings, similar to his hands back. The manager then demonstrates for them by stroking your tender areas, and in the meanwhile, when Cheng and Yin see it, they blush. While pondering, they also develop a nosebleed. It seems that he can, at least, depending on. The advisor takes Yin's collar and informs her that they need to go to work. Will now be departing, but Yin queries what he is discussing and instructs him to give her a little more time to hang around. The advisor then threatens her, telling her that she has been responding to her messages all day. He continues, saying it seems he will have to teach her that fundamental lesson once again. Yin then apologizes and promises not to do it again, that she would follow his instructions, and that she took the lesson to heart. Later, Yu tells Cheng that they need to depart as well, but Cheng averts his gaze. Then, apologizing and asking if she's upset, he begs her not to be upset with him. When he reaches for Cheng's hand, she pulls it away and tells him to move his filthy hand. Leave her alone and avoid touching her. At that moment, Cheng sulks and Yu starts crying due to hand agony. She responds that they are heading to the grocery when he asks where they are headed. They purchase dinner's ingredients, and then they clasp hands. Cheng questions if she should attempt using those weak points when they get at the market. The supervisor made reference to it and expressed her belief that she would ultimately hold the hire. Yu, meantime, claims they ran out of this thing at home as she carries a package of protection. Cheng orders him to die, telling them to purchase more while they are here. Returning to the main narrative, Yu believes she was completely abandoned and that here we go again. As she considers what to do to pass the time, she gets an idea from seeing their base. It's since she is unable to go outdoors. She says that she should simply go inside and adds that this facility must contain a lot of weird rooms she hasn't yet visited. The bear is then told to take care of himself on his return to the jungle as she bids him goodbye. Following that, she starts to explore the base and is astounded by the building. She also looks about the library, which has a variety of book genres, before she passes out into a trap designed to resemble. Later, when she rides an escalator and examines different objects, she discovers herself in a heavily armed room. Upon seizing one of the swords, the weapon fires a strong beam that penetrates the base's roof. While he is gathering veggies from the garden, Cheng is wondering what's going on. Conversely, Yu believes that she would be better off not handling the false material. Moving forward, glancing at the hole she had created with the blade, She then discovers a door with the writing. There's nothing interesting in this room, however, and it catches her attention. A little pause ensues, and then she clutches the door handle, believing that she would merely look around. She starts to cough after opening the door and remarks on how much dust there is. Subsequently, she scans the room and notices that various items are strewn around. You wonders what type of location this is since it seems to be abandoned for a while. She also notices how much anime memorabilia is there. The items seem to be from a different age, and she believes she saw something similar when she was a little child. She wonders what this place is, holding a manga, and is shocked to learn what it is. That this area is also filled with a lot of games, movies, and anime. She continues by holding a toy pistol and stating that she believes she had a play gun similar to this when she was a child. Then, inserting a token, she points and says, if memory serves her correctly, they do it like this. The gun forward and exclaims, "Shoot poo poo, my trusty blaster." She now recalls owning a toy gun similar to this one, which used to be her favorite. Then, she treasured it so much that the slightest scratch on it would bring her sorrow. And she scribbled a doodle on it out of fear that she might lose it. She is left speechless when she discovers that the token she was holding also has a doodle on it. After observing it, she then dismisses it as a coincidence and remarks that it seems that every child has a practice of doodling on their belongings. Then, she wonders what type of drawing she made on hers, but she is unable to recall it because it has been a while. She grasps her head in agony as a book suddenly falls from the bookcase onto her head, pondering the nature of it. After that, she moves the photo after seeing a picture frame on the ground. To see the information, she wonders who is in the photo of a little demon boy and a demon girl that she finds online. She believes the little child was very adorable when he was little and wonders whether he is Cheng. Additionally, she notes that he had wings at the time, leading her to believe that he wasn't born without wings. She also questions if the lady standing next to him is Cheng's mother, although she seems a little too young to do it. She feels that she reminds her of Zio, but the more she investigates, the less sense she gets. Later, she is interested when she sees an album on the floor. She thinks the picture in this photo book must have fallen together, and she's thinking maybe this record might provide her with some hints. Then, she believes that she may even be able to unearth some scandalous information about Cheng. Yet she's hesitant to open them since she thinks it's impolite to glance through other people's private picture albums of others without their consent. However, she is rather inquisitive, and he isn't around to request permission, so as long as he doesn't find out, taking a glance shouldn't be a huge concern. Then, believing that she would just be taking a quick look, she tries to open the album. But when she discovers that every picture in the book has been destroyed, she wonders why it is the style of all the pictures in the album. Then, while she was startlingly flipping through the album, Cheng burst into the space and threateningly questioned her about her whereabouts after telling her not to stray. Cheng continues, menacingly asking you if you did not tell her not to stray. When you see him, you can't stop talking, but Cheng shoos her out of the room right away. Then, in agony, she grips her head, and as Cheng leaves the room, she inquisitively, does this seem like his room? She encourages him to wait as Cheng walks away, disregarding her, but then Cheng smashes his hand against the wall, her side facing. He instructs her to quit shouting at her and that it doesn't matter whether it is true or not, while she keeps telling him to stop roaming and not to touch him since she is causing him a headache. Anything at all. He then inquires as to if he was clear, and you tremblingly answer in the affirmative. You stares at him as he goes and makes a mournful face. On the other side, Zio says that this stinks since she was sort of anticipating a disagreement or anything. She further argues that this is no fun and requests the supervisor's opinion on the subject, but she keeps mute. After, when Cheng was cleaning their dishes, you stared at him while reclining on the sofa. Then, staring at him with a sorrowful face, she wonders what the record was, but she knows, because there is no way he will answer her if she simply asks him. She also wonders what is the gloomy sensation in her chest and she can't place her finger on it. Cheng then calls her and instructs her get up, and adds that he doesn't want her to fall sleeping on the sofa again, to which she says alright. Later, he leads her in a location, to which you questions where does he wants her to go. Cheng brings her to a bedroom while stating this will be her bedroom for tonight and adds that he would make her bed and go bring her a new blanket. On the other side, the supervisor notes that it's dull and the day is done and adds that so far nothing has occurred, and asks Zio whether she wants to continue this. Hearing that, Zio with a wicked smirk tells her not to worry and adds that the fun is simply about to start. After that, you discovers an odd button on the wall of their bedroom, and it ignites her curiosity. She then stops herself from touching the button as it may be another trap and she could got chastised again. However, her inquisitive conscience encourages her to hit the button, claiming it can't be anything hazardous, it may be a nice surprise, and at moments like this she should pursue her heart's desire. After that, she pushes the button and it sets a trap, to which Chang is perplexed as he is preparing you his bed. All the entrances to the chamber suddenly begin to shut down, so Chang wonders what happened. And why are all the doors and windows locking up? He further queries whether some type of trap was triggered, but there is no possibility because he was pretty cautious not to touch anything. Meanwhile, Yu conceals the button whilst Cheng finds out that all the exits are shut off. Afterwards, the TV inside their room suddenly comes on, and a text was shown stating they can't leave this room till they do that. Witnessing that, Cheng becomes mute, but Yu wonders what it implies by that. Cheng then shouts whether Zio is joking him, but Zio glances at them with a frightening smirk. After that, Cheng attempts to violently open the door, but it doesn't budge. Yu then obliviously suggests whether they should simply do it, at which Cheng is frightened. Hearing it, Cheng humbly replies he must be hearing things and asks whether she is serious. Yu answers of course, because they won't get out until they do it, at which Cheng wonders what she is saying. He then emphasizes that they are talking about it and whether she understands. However, Yu tells him to relax and adds simply leave it to her, she is excellent at this type of thing. But Cheng furiously questions what she is talking about. He wonders whether this moron actually comprehend what it implies, and could it be that they are discussing about distinct topics here. After that, Zio comes on the television stating today they will discuss about what it means and how to accomplish it, and if they don't know yet, she will give them a lesson following which even an idiot can learn how to do it. Later, Yu adds that she is preparing to explain them the regulations, but Cheng queries whether that tutorial is what he is thinking. Yu then carefully focuses and grabs a notepad whilst Cheng makes a concerned communication. However, as the lesson goes, you get dumbfounded watching it. Meanwhile, Cheng immediately hurries to turn off the TV, but he couldn't turn it off and couldn't discover the power plug. Later, Zio informs them that this instruction was supplied by Zio's spirit lifting library, and thanks them for watching. Cheng on the other side finds the power cord and eventually turns the TV off. He then looks at Yu and realizes that her eyes are soulless after watching the instruction. Later, she begins flushing at the sudden awareness and assures him that it's not what she meant. She felt all they needed to do was to play some game, and when she mentioned she is excellent at it, she just meant that she is brilliant at playing games and not at performing such type of things. To which Cheng answers that he knows and encourages her to calm down. After that, a drawer full of protection and kinky toys suddenly opens and Zio arrives, the screen urging them not to overdo it and not to forget to wear protection. But Cheng quickly smashes the phone on the floor. On the other side, Zio shouts at Cheng for destroying her phone, but the supervisor asks why she constantly opts for such dull vulgar traps that nobody loves to watch. Meanwhile, Yu shyly apologizes to Cheng stating, after careful thinking, she feels she can't do this, but Cheng furiously warns her that when anyone makes such requirements, she must reject them decisively. After that, Cheng relaxes on the bed stating that it's unpleasant, considering that inconsiderate sibling of his simply likes to do all sorts of crazy things. Then Yu wonders what they are going to do now, to which Cheng answers that they are simply going to stay in this room. He says that this is simply one of her pranks, so soon she gets tired, she will release them. Go, and there is a toilet, a restroom, and enough food for them to not worry. She answers that she knows, and then she searches about for a spot to relax, because Cheng was asleep on the bed. Cheng taunts her, asking whether being in the same room with him makes her uneasy, and adds that they had been living together for so long, and she still haven't gotten accustomed to it. She becomes embarrassed hearing that, and adds that her being mindful of him is a joke. But Cheng encourages her not to push herself and further states that he would keep this humiliating small secret of hers. Afterwards, Yu furiously gets on the bed and demands him to see, and adds that she is already laying on a bed with him and don't feel anything at all. Cheng becomes upset at her conduct and urges her not to disrupt his sleep. Meanwhile, Yu wonders what she is doing, what she is shouting at him for, and thinks about things rationally. Sleeping together again is the only way. She also feels that he isn't making a big deal out of it anyhow, so she should simply sleep. Suddenly, she sniffs the air, wondering what this fragrance is, and that it smells sort of weird. Afterward, she angers Cheng by yelling his name many times, and then she smashes her hand near his face, leaving him perplexed. She asks what should she do, as her body immediately began to feel heated, and also she is beginning to feel uneasy, to which Cheng stares at her confusedly and wonders what is happening. Moving on, Cheng in a frantic condition orders her to stop it and wonders what she is doing and what went into her. In reply, Yu in an agitated attitude wonders what she is expected to do since her head feels heated, and is it because her brain is growing? Cheng then shouts at her to go back to her wits, but she clutches his hand. She informs him that her whole body feels heated. This makes her feel anxious, so she asks if he can assist her by taking off her clothing. Hearing it, Cheng gets frightened and begs her to stop it right now while grasping her shoulders. He then tosses her on the bed, and after a brief interval, he watches her lustful face and gets dumbfounded. He wonders what this emotion is and asks himself how come he now doesn't want to oppose it. He then thinks about letting nature to run its course and adds that this doesn't seem so awful. However, he snaps out of it owing to his indomitable spirit and believes it was risky. He nearly lost control and wonders what is happening on here and what this peculiar fragrance is. He feels that everything is Zio's handiwork and that she must have planned this all out for enjoyment. The show using concealed cameras. He speculates that if he breathes in too much of this gas, it will be impossible to remain rational. Therefore, he has to hurry up and get out of here. Then abruptly, Yu takes him by his neck and pulls him towards her. She then chuckles as she adds, "Caught you," and asks whether they should continue. Looking at her situation, he feels that Yu absolutely fell into his sister's trap, and as they are going to lock lips, he says that this will be terrible if this continues. Suddenly, he engages Sage mode and then snaps out of it by making a severe expression. On the opposite side of the television, Zio feels astonished to observe it and doubts whether he is fooling her. They were so near to the juicy stuff and now he is giving them this, so she asks whether he is an impotent. Afterward, Chang abruptly warps her in the blanket and carries her on his shoulder. He then activates a pressure plate and unexpectedly, a hidden gateway open up. Meanwhile, Zio queries what type of story device is that, but the supervisor remarks that he predicted this. Chang says that thankfully, there are escape ways in each room and adds that he anticipated Zio to attempt to capture them in one of her traps, so he was intending to pretend that they got captured, since she wouldn't bother them with more and more traps. And now she forces his hand and he thinks about getting out of here. Then, while he was leaving with Yu, an alarm was activated and immediately the doors start to shut and aphrodisiac fills in from the ventilations. Meanwhile, Zio queries whether he believed that she wouldn't think of this and adds that she predicted that. On the contrary, Chang unlocks the door by activating another pressure plate and adds that he knew that she would foresee it. Afterward, Zio triggers another trap stating, "That's what she would have said if she didn't expect that he would foresee her wisdom." Chang then climbs down using a rope while explaining that he knew that she would perceive in foreseeing her wisdom. After that, they continue to foretell their future when the supervisor asks whether they are playing Matryoshka dolls with words or whatever. At that, Zio furiously orders her to shut up and adds that this has nothing to do with her. But the supervisor warns her that it appears like Chang is preparing to flee. Meanwhile, Chang flicks a switch and arrives at an aircraft parking garage. He then violently dumps Yu on an aircraft and she comes back to her senses wondering, what is happening on? What is this place? And what just happened? Chang answers that he will explain everything to her later so she should hurry up and put wearing that helmet as they are breaking out of here. Zio feels bewildered questioning what he means by breaking out, and in the next second, Chang begins operating the plane and startles her.